via sites like TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Remember, this is a news conversation, a little different from your traditional broadcast. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to weigh in the comment section wherever you're watching, if that's TikTok or YouTube, and we'll try to answer your questions, guys. But we have a lot to get to today. First, let's talk about some top stories here. We've been covering a lot of violence in the Atlanta area. Another shooting happened yesterday. Here's what we know. Overnight in Noonan, this time, a 38-year-old man was shot multiple times, and this happened on Octavia Place. That victim later died at the hospital after first responders rushed him there. Again, this happening on Octavia Place in Noonan. Police are asking the public if they have any information on the shooting as this investigation continues. So when officers got to Octavia Place, they found a man suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. The victim, again, has been identified as 38-year-old Hunter Ross Williams. He was taken to the hospital. Doctors tried to save his life there, but sadly, he did die from his injuries at the hospital. Investigators say the circumstances surrounding this shooting aren't clear. So there are still many unanswered questions. But again, it's another violent incident here in the Atlanta area. We've been covering a string of incidents, sadly. Authorities have taken to social media to ask anyone with information to come forward as they work together to piece what happened. Moving now to a big national story, we're covering the Supreme Court heard arguments today over President Trump's attempts to limit birthright citizenship. And the president has made history attending the arguments in person there. So the justice heard arguments for more than 2 hours that wrapped up around 12:20 p.m. Trump just left over an hour into the session after his lawyer wrapped up. But again, President Trump becoming the first sitting president to attend Supreme Court arguments today as the justices weigh the legality of his day one executive order that seeks to end the birthright citizenship for the children of illegal immigrants. Now, while security is always tight at the court, it's even more heightened today. We've been seeing people protest on the Supreme Court's plaza. You can see video right there. That's still happening as I look to my right to video that we have. It's still happening live right now. While security, again, is tight, it's even more heightened today. The president joining members of the public who waited hours to hear these arguments. And while his presence is historic, he's not able to speak to make any arguments of his own. This case hinges on the Constitution's 14th Amendment and whether it guarantees citizenships to those born in the U.S. Justices are expected to rule on this case by the beginning of July. Okay, so a very important story here that we have been covering. And there you go. You see that video right here of the Supreme Court and people standing outside there on the plaza. Moving forward, let's talk about the war in Iran. The White House now hinting that an exit plan is imminent for Iran, possibly in the form of a ceasefire requested by Iranians. On Tuesday, so yesterday, President Trump set a new timeline to wrap up Operation Epic Fury, telling reporters he believed it would be over in 2 to 3 weeks. But this morning, that all changed. The president writing on Truth Social, quote, Iran's new regime president much less radicalized and far more intelligent than his predecessors, has just asked the U.S. for a ceasefire. Again, the president wrote this on Truth Social this morning. The president also says that will only happen when the Strait of Hormuz is reopened, and until then, the airstrikes will continue. But some experts say the president still has a long way to go to achieve his goals in this war. We know that he and Iranians there have been going back and forth about these peace talks. He's reporting that peace talks are happening, and Iranians are reporting that they're not. Again, the Iranians remain defiant, saying they've received messages from Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, but still insisted no negotiations are taking place. One official said, quote, the trust level is at zero. President Trump will address the nation about the war at 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight, and you can watch it right here on Fox. Let's move forward, guys, and talk about what Fox 5 is working on today. Let's bring in Tanya Mendoza, our Fox 5 assignment manager, as she has a look at what reporters are working on. And Tanya, first, one of our reporters is covering one of the violent incidents, a shooting that happened in the Atlanta area last night.
That's right. Last night around 7:17 p.m., the Atlanta Police Department responded to 340 Dixie Hill Circle Northwest. When they arrived there, they say they found a man who was fatally shot and was pronounced dead on the scene. 2 other women were also shot. They were alert, conscious, and breathing. The suspect in the case was apprehended later in Gwinnett County. They detained a possible suspect, and GSP helped them with that part. Annie Mapp's on the story right now. She's following up on it because last night, the police chief actually showed up and gave some sound about this case. And he also made a connection saying that a lot of these recent shootings have one thing in common, which are domestic violence. So he mentioned that was related to this particular shooting last night. So let's listen into the soundbite from that press conference.
Yesterday we had a road rage incident. A car accident occurred. Individuals couldn't agree over the monetary damage. Guns were produced. Both parties shot at each other. We had 2 other incidents that we believe are related to narcotics dealing in our city, where individuals chose to resort to gunfire. We have strong leads in those 2. I'm very confident we're going to be able to identify all those that were involved and bring those individuals before a court of Fulton County.
Okay, so he did talk. He expanded and talked about this particular case where all parties were known to each other, emphasizing the danger of individuals possessing guns and domestic violence. So that was that story. And moving on from that, I wanted to say that I don't know if you heard about the story that Tyler Fingert was on for the noon show. Jasmine, did you see that one about the Ponzi scheme?
The Ponzi scheme, is this dealing with the Secretary of State?
Yeah, with the Secretary of State's office.
Yes.
He had a press conference this morning, Brad Raffensperger, and he talked about the major milestone in the first Liberty Building and Loan Enforcement action. Victims in that case are finally being made whole. Bankers Life has agreed to pay nearly $6.7 million to repay 46 investors who were allegedly misled by former advisor Timothy Nathaniel Darnell. Officials say the broader scheme allegedly was led by Edwin Brant Frost, who is also under federal investigation. The total loss is estimated at $140 million. In the press conference, Raffensperger called the scheme reprehensible, noting that many victims were seniors whose faith was used against them to steal their life savings. Let's listen into a soundbite from that press conference.
It was heartbreaking to hear their stories from those who have lost everything. Many of them seniors who saw their life savings taken from them by people they thought they could trust. As a Christian conservative businessman, hearing that their faith was weaponized to get them to invest was reprehensible.
Yeah, so Tyler Fingert is working on that story. He'll have much more for everyone, and he'll break down everything going on with that case at 4, 5, and 6.
And Tanya, one more story to talk about before you go. Georgia lawmakers expected to pass some bills. What bills and what do we know about this?
Okay, so basically, Deidre Dukes, she's been at the legislative session that's been ongoing for about a month now. And she's saying things are starting to wrap up. But one thing that I wanted to mention today, I can't expand on all of them, but one bill that I thought was important that she talked about in our morning meeting was a major education bill, House Bill 1193. It passed late yesterday and a priority for House Speaker John Burns. The bill places literacy coaches in elementary schools statewide to ensure students are proficient readers by the end of 3rd grade. So that's a big deal. Speaker Burns is holding a press event today to discuss this $60.8 million investment and the shift towards the science of reading. So it's really important for him. He's making it a priority, and he wants this in all schools.
Tanya, thank you so much for joining us to talk about what Fox 5 is working on today. We'll let you get back to what you were doing, your work. And guys, we're going to go ahead and move forward and talk weather. But first, you're going to take a live look outside there, that beautiful water. And that is actually Artemis II. Let's a look at Artemis II. It's taking launch today at 6:24, heading to the moon. NASA sending people to the moon. That's incredible.
Right. So it all depends on the weather, right? We need that to cooperate down in Florida. So, it takes a very specific type of forecast, or maybe lack thereof, for this to be able to get off the ground. And that's what we're going to be watching for in the evening hours. You can't have cloud cover be too thick. You certainly can't have showers around.
Yeah.
And you can't have wind gusts over 30 miles an hour. So when we add up the details here, we do have the launch probability for you. The latest information from NASA is still at 80%. So here it is. Let's see if it wants to play. Maybe. There we go. So 80%, as you mentioned, 6:24 p.m. The forecast is for it to be partly cloudy with perhaps a scattered shower. But there's an 80% chance of that staying away, right? So we're going to be keeping an eye on it into the evening tonight. They're going to go circle the moon and report back. Current temperatures here in Atlanta. Back up in Georgia, 79 is where we stand now. We've been cooler out in West Georgia all day. 68 there in Carrollton, 76 in Noonan, 79 in Griffin, and 82 over in Eatonton. Today is April 1st. Our average high is 70. Needless to say, we are already above that mark, and we're above really the April 30th mark already as well. So we're starting April how we ended March, on a warm note. Average rainfall, we should pick up around 4 inches this month, and that would keep us treading water, for lack of a better term, in terms of our drought situation. But we really need a lot more than that to put a dent in this drought situation. So that's what we're on the lookout for over the next 4 weeks. A daylight change, we're going to gain an hour's worth here in the next month. Speaking of months, March officially done. Break out the red Sharpie, open the record book. 2026 goes down as the second warmest March on record in Atlanta. So data's been kept since 1879. The only month that was warmer was March of 2012. And if you remember the summer of 2012 at all, you would know that that was really hot. So hopefully that's not the writing on the wall for this upcoming summer. But we are going to remain above the norm now as we work our way into the afternoon and evening hours. 83, your high temperature for today. You see 80s here over the next several days. Here's your Fox 5 Storm Team 7-day forecast now. And then as we find our way towards Easter, a 70% chance of rain as we work our way into the evening hours. And then let's see how that all shakes out as we work our way towards Easter. I'd plan on a wet one, though. Get everything done as early as possible.
All right, Alex, thanks so much for joining us to talk weather here. We'll see you later. And guys, we have much more to talk about, especially with NASA sending people to the moon. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. Ready for blast off? We are just hours away, about 5 hours away from NASA's Artemis II rocket launch, which will send astronauts, 4 of them, to the moon for the first time in more than 50 years. Fox's Rebecca Castor is at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where the countdown clock is ticking. You can see it behind her. Hey, Rebecca.
Hey, Jasmine. Yep, we got 5 hours and 8 minutes to go to lift off. It is the second test flight for the Artemis program, and it's the first one with humans actually on board. So this is going to be very exciting. The astronauts won't be landing on the moon this time, but they are going to travel around the moon and back, really to test the Orion spacecraft. This is only the second time Orion is going to be launching into deep space, and they're going to be making sure that its navigation system is working. Its communication system is working, all of its life support systems that can keep humans alive in deep space. They're going to make sure all of that is working. So really exciting. And again, just a few hours to go from here.
Becca, talk about some of the big firsts here, the records that will be broken today.
Yeah, so there are a lot of firsts with this Artemis II launch. One of those is the pilot, Victor Glover. He is going to become the first black astronaut to the moon. He is also going to be the first person to actually fly the Orion spacecraft. You're going to have the first female to the moon, and astronaut Christina Cook, and then also the first non-American with Canadian Jeremy Hansen also on this NASA team. So really exciting records that are going to be broken there. Also, this team of 4 astronauts, in addition to their commander Reed Wiseman, they are going to become the humans that have traveled further than any other humans have traveled into space before. They are going to go about 250,000 miles away from Earth. They're going to come about 4,000 to 6,000 miles away from the moon, and they're going to be heading to the dark side of the moon. This is a part of the moon that humans have never seen with their human eyes before. We've had satellites go over there, but never humans themselves. So those are just some of the records that are going to be broken with this mission.
Really love to hear this. Let's move on to a little bit of a different question here. What challenges has NASA been facing with this?
Yeah, so one of the biggest tests for this mission will actually be watching the spacecraft on re-entry. So during Artemis I, that was the first test flight for the Orion spacecraft, the heat shield was damaged more so than NASA engineers were expecting on re-entry. So this is when it's flying back to Earth, it's traveling at 25,000 miles per hour, super fast. So it's picking up a lot of heat when it is re-entering Earth's atmosphere. And the heat shield makes sure that the astronauts inside, can survive re-entry and make sure that the temperatures don't get hot enough inside the capsule. So that is something that was one of the reasons why this launch was delayed for several, we were expecting astronauts to go up on this flight last year. So they have done over hundreds tests on this heat shield. They are confident they have identified the cause for that issue, and they are ready to go. But that is definitely going to be the moment on re-entry, which will be 10 days from now, that really is going to be the moment that the NASA engineers will be holding their breaths.
And Rebecca, one more time before we let you go, give us the timeline once the rocket is launched.
Yeah, so after the rocket is launched, the first 24 hours, the crew is just going to be orbiting Earth. They're not going to go too far, just in case if there are any problems with the spacecraft, they can easily make it back down here at home. But after 24 hours, if everything is good, they're going to have another round of engines fire, and that's going to send them on that path towards the moon. They'll get there, they'll get to the moon's neighborhood about day 5, and then day 6 is going to be that historic day when they travel the furthest that any human has made it before. And then the moon's gravitational pull is what is going to bring them back down to Earth. Splashdown, if it launches today, it's a 10-day mission, so that would time out splashdown on April 10th, and they are expected to land in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego.
Rebecca, thanks so much for joining us today to talk about this wonderful, historic mission here. NASA set to launch the first crewed lunar flight since 1972 today. Rebecca, thank you. Guys, and sticking with this topic, NASA's plan doesn't stop at the moon. It's a stepping stone to Mars, but getting there means solving some tough engineering problems. We just heard Rebecca speak of one of them. Georgia Tech's principal research engineer, Judd Reddy, joins us live to discuss this. Judd is also a space materials and systems expert. Judd, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So first, let's talk, what makes deep space missions to Mars so much harder than going to the moon?
Well, going to the moon is hard enough. Going to Mars is a multi-month journey, years using current technology. There's proposals to do what's known as nuclear thermal propulsion to speed that aspect up so that some of these free return trajectories, such as we're doing with the moon, can be accelerated. There's also just the human isolation aspects beyond the technology complexities. There's the human psychology complexities.
And Judd, what are some of the biggest engineering challenges here that astronauts will face beyond the lunar orbit?
Well, there's always the importance of staying alive. So water and oxygen are important. Waste disposal creates a lot of giggles, but that's an important aspect on long duration missions. Of course, your food and your consumables. As you travel farther and farther away from the sun, our solar panels get less solar flux, so they produce less electricity to use, and power is absolutely essential for all those other aspects, for creating the water, for purifying the cabin. And then assuming you took all the time to get all the way out to Mars, you're going to want to land on it, most likely. And so that's a complex landing. Mars has an atmosphere. It's not nearly as thick as Earth's, but that creates its own challenges with heat shields and other aspects.
And what technologies are still missing or not ready for a moon to Mars mission?
Well, you certainly need to understand the radiation environment. That's poorly understood from a human perspective. The radiation can cause permanent injury and even death to astronauts by inducing cancers, for instance. So that's crucial, is just the human survival aspect. Other missions, as I mentioned, were trying to speed it up. Propulsion technologies, utilizing combustion, like we're going to see here in a few more hours, provide a tremendous amount of thrust, but you can't fire them forever. This launch is only going to roughly 8 minutes worth of propulsion, and then it's coasting for most of the rest of the time.
And Judge, I also want to ask you, how important is the moon as a testing ground for a future trip to Mars?
It's super important. There's a lot of differences in there's no atmosphere on the moon. There's relatively limited water on the moon. So there's differences there, but it's much, much closer. Even though it's 250,000 miles away, which is not close at all, it's significantly closer. Should anything go wrong, that you could at least have a hope of coming back. Certainly what we call ISRU, in situ resource utilization, differs on the moon versus Mars. There's different, the regolith, which is the dirt, if you will, of the Mars or the moon are different. So there's different constituents in there to allow you to live off the land.
Judd, thank you so much for joining us here to talk about this wonderful mission that NASA is doing here, launching this crew to the moon. Thanks for joining us. We'll let you get back to your work.
Thank you.
Guys, again, we'll continue to follow the story. That launch set to happen at 6:24 p.m. It's going to be very fun to watch, so you don't want to miss that. But for now, when we return, we're going to talk about summer camp. Many families may be preparing or searching for a summer camp to send their child to. We'll discuss how those families can prepare up next. Welcome back. It's springtime and we're looking forward here. It's a good time to start planning for summer camp for your kids, that next big adventure for them this summer. The American Camp Association CEO Henry DeHart joins us with some tips on how parents can choose the right camp. Henry, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having us.
So what should parents know when it comes to choosing the right summer camp? I did participate in summer camps as a kid, but I don't have any children. So just curious to know, what should parents do?
Yeah, when you're thinking about a summer camp for your child, I think about it really in three different ways. First is, what's the right program fit? So what is your child going to be interested in? What are they going to get energized by? And program fit also means, day or overnight. Length, is it 1 week? Is it 4 weeks? Is it 3 days? And so I begin to vet camps by the program fit. Once you think you found some camps that might be a good fit, the parent really needs to do some due diligence around the safety and quality of the program. There's an assumption that most camps are pretty heavily regulated, and actually parents would be surprised to find that regulation for camps in many states is very light. So safety and quality would be the next question. And once you have those sorted out and you can secure a spot, there's a whole number of logistics that parents can start thinking about, like what's the communication policy and how, will I hear from my child, and what's the policy if they need medical assistance, and what is the packing list, and how do you make cabin assignments? Can my child be with a friend of theirs, or do you like kids from the same school to be in different groups? So it's really program fit, safety and quality, then you secure your spot, and then there's a whole host of logistics depending on the camp.
Some good tips there, Henry. So, my next question for you, what are some signs that a child is not ready for their first camp experience?
Well, I would love to see every child have the opportunity to go to camp at some point. Different children are ready for camp at different ages. My sister went when she was 6. I didn't go till I was 11, and here I'm still working in the industry. So, I do think it's important that parents not force camp too soon, but do encourage kids to take that on. And one of the ways you can do that is by really finding a program that really excites your child. There are all sorts of camps now. It's not just the traditional camps that we think about, but there's STEM camps and computer camps and theater camps, and all the normal, the horseback riding and the broad camp. So first things first is just finding a good fit. Another good way to get a child comfortable with camp is to practice being away from home. Have a sleepover with a friend, go spend the weekend or a week with grandparents. That's a good way to practice, and camp is the next logical step. Another good idea is maybe send the child to camp with a friend, and so that there's a friendly face there. A lot of camps have family camps, so you can go over the weekend to the camp with the whole family, and you can meet the staff and see what the cabins look like, and you can do it with your parents. And part of the reason that camps offer that, besides the fact that parents love camp, is because kids can then get used to camp before they go. So that's just a few tips that I would offer.
And how far in advance should parents start looking for summer camps? I know we say spring, but should they start looking before the springtime?
So youth enrichment programs are in really high demand right now. And, with the coming of AI and the skills that kids will need in the future, I think the demand for camp is going to continue to go up. If you have not enrolled your child in camp yet this summer, I would encourage you to go ahead and start looking now. Camps will fill up quickly, and there's usually space in many camps at this time, and even leading up to the summer. The later you get, the more that overnight camps will be full. Some overnight camps will be full now. Some overnight camps will start their enrollment in the fall even. But many day camps will have, there is space in overnight, and many day camps will have space now, but I wouldn't wait on that. I would say if you have a child that's not ready for camp yet, but is thinking about camp next year, it is not too early to start thinking about camp now. Reach out to some camps, get your name on their list so that you can be on the communication streams and the early registration. So don't be discouraged if you find the first couple of camps you look at are full at this point. Keep looking. Our researchers tell us that there's about 10 to 15% capacity in camps across the country every year, meaning they could serve that many more children. So keep looking. You'll find a good fit. And the more you have a specific camp in mind, the further ahead you're going to have to start looking.
Henry, thank you so much for joining us to talk about this and how families can safely prepare their kids for summer camps. Thanks for joining us.
Happy to be.
All right, guys, we are moving forward now. Let's talk about NASCAR. A new era of racing is hitting the track in Atlanta. Today at Echo Park Speedway, a first-of-its-kind electric NASCAR prototype is taking center stage, and Fox 5's Eli Jordan is there and has a look at this pretty cool story. Let's watch together.
That's right. I am at Echo Park Speedway here in Henry County, and they're showing off an electric vehicle. Check this out. ABB, Ford, Chevy, and Toyota have gone in collaboration to develop this electric NASCAR. It has about 1,360 horsepower. Top speed's gotten up to 165 miles an hour, and they brought it out here and gave it for a little spin, showing it off. They're going around tour around a lot of American raceways here, and just showing off what it can do. You know, there's a lot of different tracks, and this thing might not be appropriate for every track, but it's gotten up to 165 over in Phoenix. It can last about an hour on certain tracks, but not on this track. This track's a pretty big one. But there's still a lot of development going on. But I spoke to the driver and the vice president of ABB earlier.
Yeah, it's the first time I got to drive that car, obviously an electric NASCAR. It's a big car, it's quite heavy compared to what I'm used to, but it's got a lot of torque, a lot of power. So I did a few acceleration without the traction control, and you do realize how powerful it is. Of course, you know, in the corners you carry the weight of the battery, but the power you feel is pretty impressive. You know, from 0 to 60, it's amazing the acceleration you get to feel, and you really understand that, you know, those EVs are coming and getting better and better.
It's the ABB NASCAR EV prototype. It's built in collaboration with Ford, Chevy, and Toyota. Since we launched this car, Ford has launched an EV prototype and Chevy has launched an EV prototype. And we did an exhibition with all three cars in Chicago over the summer.
Is this thing race ready?
It's a prototype, so we are testing. We're testing today. So we haven't had it at top speed yet. That's the first question I get. This is an amazing vehicle, 1,360 horsepower, so it's fast. But we're still doing testing on different types of tracks. Where would this car run well? Where would it not perform well? And really kind of learn the technology so that one day maybe it could be race ready.
Now don't worry, you're still going to be hearing the roar of the combustion engines going off. There's still a lot of development to go with these EV batteries, and, you know, make them have better endurance to be able to make it around these tracks and sustain the race. There's no filling up over in the pits, but so they got to, you know, still a little bit of development to go, but this is some awareness showing off how advanced we've gotten with electric vehicles. Reporting over at Echo Park Speedway, back to you guys.
You know, such a cool story there. Looking forward to see what NASCAR does with this new electric future here. Guys, let's talk about what's trending on fox5atlanta.com. These are the stories that you are clicking on the most. We're going to bring in our Sam Daniel, Fox 5's digital content creator. Hey, Sam, how you doing?
Hey, Jasmine, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So let's talk about what's trending right now. The first thing that is trending is a traffic stop that ended in a major arrest. Okay, so this happened in Alpharetta. Police officers said it started as a routine traffic stop, but they ended up walking away with an arrest involving outstanding felony warrants, lots of different types of drugs, and a gun, which you see there on your screen. So the driver, who police have not identified, was pulled over for speeding along Georgia 400 southbound near Encore Parkway. Again, that's in Alpharetta. And so police officers pulled him over, walked up. You know how a traffic stop goes. Unfortunately, I've been pulled over before. The first thing they do is ask for your ID. They run it, do all that kind of stuff. Officers say this driver's license came back to somebody that had felony warrants out of Fulton and DeKalb counties. The warrants were allegedly for probation violations, and they stemmed from aggravated assault, fleeing and eluding, and obstruction of justice charges. So some pretty serious charges. Officers arrested him, searched the car, and then they found several narcotics packages, which you see in that picture there. Officers say it was marked for distribution, and the drugs included MDMA, marijuana, meth, crack cocaine, and then they also found that gun. So now the suspect is facing additional charges, including trafficking, possession with the intent to distribute, and firearm-related offenses, and he is now charged in Alpharetta, and then, of course, so that's Fulton County, and then in DeKalb County.
Wow. And, you know, this story, these types of stories are always trending on Fox5Atlanta.com, on Fox5.com. Very interesting here, but not a new story for the Atlanta area.
No, and if you are ever on TikTok like I am, you always see Georgia is not the state to run from cops in.
Oh, yeah.
You never do it.
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia State Patrol specifically. So when you start to get pulled over, everybody knows. Even people that have illegal stuff in their car, they know you pull over for the cops because it could be a lot worse.
That's right, Sam. Let's move forward and talk about Midtown International and their announcement made recently.
Yeah, so it's giving a lot more questions than it is answers, but we do know that Atlanta's Midtown International School will close Friday. The school is a private school that focuses on supporting gifted and high-achieving students in grades kindergarten through 12. It's a private school. And then on Monday, they sent a letter home to families, staff, students, everybody, and just kind of said, hey, guess what? Friday is our last day. So students don't really have anywhere to go because it's ending before the school year. So they're going to try, I guess, maybe to get into other private schools, or they'll have to enroll in their public schools wherever they live, because if they don't finish the school year in the state of Georgia, it doesn't technically count as them moving on to the next grade. They have to be enrolled at the end of the school year to move on. It also leaves questions up about staff because they had contracts through the end of the year that they were supposed to get paid, but now they're not going to be working. So it's unclear what is next for them. We will say the school gave us a very specific reason, and it said that it lost 20 students in the kindergarten through 7th grade range, and that was causing some financial issues for them, and they didn't know how they were going to move forward, and that is why they closed.
Oh, such a sad story here for the students and teachers involved that will now have to find somewhere else to go due to this sudden closure. And you mentioned that this is a private school, right?
Yes, it's a private school. And so students can live, I mean, anywhere as long as they could just make it in time. So there's a chance that they'll have to go to different county schools, Fulton, APS, DeKalb, Clayton, anywhere kind of around the metro area that could drive in. The school is in like the Druid Hills area, so anywhere that they could have made it from there, they'll have to go back to their public school wherever they're zoned.
Now, how long has the school been open? Do we know?
So it's been open at least 2 decades. I can't find the exact answer on their website, but it does talk about the early 2000s. So we do know that it's been open about 20 years at least.
Okay. Thanks for giving us some insight there, Sam. Just hoping that these families are able to move or transition smoothly to another school in another area. So. Sam, let's move on and talk about this driver who wrecked their Porsche in half and they survived. Oh my goodness, that is crazy there. You guys see the picture on our screen. That's crazy, Sam.
I know. It's completely crazy. This Porsche split in two. It's a completely crazy story. The driver is so lucky to be alive. Police say that this happened yesterday evening on Meadow Lane near Ridgeview Road. That's in Dunwoody. It's the Dunwoody Police Department that's posted about this. And they said that a Porsche driver lost control because they were speeding, and that caused the Porsche to go into a tree. And however it hit the tree, no one has said, but however it hit it, it caused the Porsche to snap in half. You see it right there. Those are the back seats exposed in that picture right there. That is absolutely crazy. And so somehow, miraculously, the driver was only minorly injured, according to police. They haven't said specifically, but they said they walked away with minor injuries. So imagine experiencing that and then you're just able to up and walk away. So it's crazy. I will add in there, though, we don't know if any charges will come from this or what specifically caused the driver to lose control, but police did say that the driver was speeding right before the crash.
Wow, what a scary situation. Glad to hear that the driver survived this. I mean, those images are very, very scary to see, just devastating. But again,
you never know what's going to happen on a Metro Atlanta road. But this is the first time I've ever seen anything like that.
Me too. Yes, me too. And I'm glad nobody else was hurt in this crash as well.
Exactly.
Sam, thanks so much for joining us to talk about what's trending on our website. I'll let you go ahead and get back to work. And guys, we are moving forward here. Up next, a warning from officials for spring break travelers here, whether you're driving or heading to the airport. We'll listen to what officials are saying. Welcome back. Airports across the nation preparing for spring break travel, including right here in the Atlanta area. And as the spring break travel period surges, Hartsfield-Jackson Airport is preparing to welcome more than 8.3 million passengers this month. That's a lot of people, guys. This Friday, April 3rd, is expected to be one of the busiest travel days on record. So keep that in mind if you're flying out on Friday. TSA is anticipating 115,000 security screenings. The busiest days for leisure travel are Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays in general. So just give yourself plenty of time. Try to get to the airport extra early if you can. Officials were saying 4 hours early, but you might be able to get by with 2.5 hours before domestic flights and 3 hours before international departures. And most importantly, guys, stay safe as you get ready to travel. Let's talk about the Georgia Department of Transportation, who's also preparing for people to hit the roads. So GDOT is anticipating an increase in traffic, of course, during this upcoming spring break travel season and around Metro Atlanta and throughout the state. They say from Friday, April 3rd, so this Friday, until Sunday, April 12th, they're expecting an uptick in people on the roads. Interstate lane closures will be temporarily suspended on all interstates from 10 p.m. on Friday, April 3rd, they say, to 5 a.m. on Monday, April 6th. So that's this weekend we're talking. While lane closures are suspended, construction crews may still be active near roadways. So these are just some things to keep in mind as you're on the road. And some long-term closures could remain in place just for safety reasons. Emergency or incident-related closures may still happen at any time as needed. So again, give yourself plenty of time to travel before you hit the roads. Stay alert, follow road signs, as officials are saying, and exercise caution, particularly near active or currently inactive work zones. Guys, we got to keep our workers safe while they're preparing the roads for us. So just keep them in mind as you're traveling. Motorists should also be advised, according to GDOT, of potential heavy traffic on interstates from noon this Friday to 7 p.m. on Sunday, April 5th. That's when people are expected to be leaving town. And the potential for typical traffic will start at 3 p.m. on Monday, April 6th to 7 p.m. on Thursday, April 9th. Heavy traffic is expected to resume at noon on Friday, April 10th to 7 p.m. on Sunday, April 12th. Again, so starting this weekend and over the next week, you can expect to see a lot of people on the roads. So again, just be safe as you're driving, watch out for the workers, and make sure you follow all the rules of the road. Guys, moving forward here, Georgia leaders are marking a major milestone in the fight against homelessness. So today, Governor Kemp and Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens will celebrate the opening of a new Georgia Works facility in Atlanta, and it's going to be at the historic Odd Fellows building. This nonprofit helps people who are experiencing homelessness. Fox 5's Chris Rosenthal is there with a closer look at how this program will strengthen the community. Hey, Chris.
Hey, good afternoon there. So yeah, we are waiting for the governor and Mayor Dickens to arrive here to commemorate and have a ribbon cutting for this new facility for Georgia Works. Georgia Works since 2013 has been working to help homeless men get back on their feet, transition back into the workforce, and they've graduated so far 1,200 men from their program, but they need a bigger facility, and that's what today is about, commemorating and doing a ribbon cutting for this new facility. They already have about 90 or so men living here, but they hope to expand to about 160. I talked a little earlier today with Bill McGann, he's with Georgia Works, just about this building and how this will really help them grow and expand their program. Let's take a listen.
This new building here, this is a big part of this. Talk to me about this.
It's so exciting in so many ways. It's very humbling to us because it's a big endorsement of what we've been doing. But it's really tremendous for us because we're really going to help a lot more people. Within our building, we have affordable housing units where we're going to be able to rent out rooms, and we're renting out rooms to men who, for about 20% of their monthly take-home, usually about $500 a month. And we have a great community of guys that are living up there. And then within our program, we have about 100 guys in our program that are in the Georgia Works program, which is in the bottom half of the building. So we're going to have 150, 175 guys in this program working toward self-sufficiency and becoming, back on the lives of their kids, taxpayers, and again, going from the streets of Atlanta to being in the labor pool and being productive members of society.
And giving them those tools.
It's great. We're helping them change their habits. So we're teaching them how to fish as opposed to just giving them a fish dinner.
Yeah, this isn't just like a homeless shelter. This is way more than that.
Way more than that. Our goal, I like to say, is to put ourselves out of business, to be able to get everybody off the streets into a program like ours, get their habits trained, help them work on their problems, and then getting into a job and help them then go take care of themselves.
Let's take a look at one of these rooms here.
Yeah. So this is our new building, and these are housing units up here. This is one of our resident suites. These are a couple of guys in the program, and as you can see, hey guys, what's going on? These are their bedrooms here, and we got a nice look down at the downtown connector out there, and the guys can call in and give a traffic update if they wanted. But these are well-kept rooms. They got refrigerators in here. They've got their coffee. They got a microwave, and then we're serving our meals downstairs. But they're able to keep their breakfast stuff and sandwich material and all that up here in their room.
Yeah, I got to look at those rooms. They are really nice rooms. It's a nice facility, a big improvement from where they were earlier at the Gateway Center. Again, this will allow them to work with many more men to get them through the program, get them back out on their feet. I talk with some of these men, and they just say, it's all about self-sufficiency. That's what they're looking for. So, again, we're expecting about 2 o'clock. This ceremony is supposed to begin with the governor.
you for a bit, so tell us what you just last said.
Mayor Dickens and Governor Kemp, they'll be arriving here shortly. This event starts at 2 o'clock, this ribbon cutting, but they'll also be getting a tour around this building, and I'll stick with them, and we'll bring you more coming up at 2 and 3.
All right, that sounds good, Chris. Looking forward to more on this story. Guys, let's move forward and talk about the Pulse. It's happening at 7 tonight, and there's our Tom Haynes here to share with us what they will be talking about later tonight.
Well, Jasmine, the Pulse comes on every weeknight at 7 o'clock, which, of course, you can stream right here on Fox Local, or you can watch it on air on Fox 5 Atlanta. I got a question for you, though.
Okay, I'm always ready for your question.
Are you superstitious in any way? Are you somebody who is a little superstitious? Because today is April 1st. It's April Fool's Day, after all. So there's a lot of stuff going around online, on social media sites, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, on the reels, that are not, well, that's always the case, but especially today, it being April Fool's Day, people are putting stuff out there that's simply not true. Have you ever had an April Fool's Day prank played on you, Jasmine? I'm sure you have.
I have, but not a large one.
Okay.
Not a big one, like a little small prank.
Yeah.
But if you watch social media, you see people like doing these huge pranks.
Yeah. I'm not one that likes, surprise birthdays, any kind of like pranks.
Oh, you don't
or
like
anything.
surprise?
No, I don't want anything to do with surprises. So I'm not
takes the fun out.
April Fool's Day guy, but tonight, 7 o'clock, the Pulse, we're going to talk about the worst April Fool's Day pranks we've received and if we've pranked anyone ourselves. So we always love getting people's comments. We read a ton of them on the air live. So weigh in, fox5atlanta.com/pulse. We'll look at some of your comments and we'll see you tonight at 7 o'clock.
Now, I don't know if I can ask you this or if you're saving this for the Pulse. Have you ever pranked anyone?
I am a mischievous guy, okay? I'm like Dennis the Menace.
Oh, I love that movie growing up.
But I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to make you wait till 7 o'clock tonight when you join us.
All right, guys. You're going to have to wait till 7 o'clock to hear that. So make sure y'all watch the Pulse tonight at 7.
Yep.
All right, Tom.
Thanks, Jasmine.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Let's go back and talk about the Artemis II launch. I know many of you are looking forward to seeing that, and we're taking a look now at the launch here at the rocket. Let's talk about some details here. We know that they're sending 4 astronauts today at 6:24 p.m. We are less than 5 hours away from NASA's Artemis II rocket launch, and we'll send 4 astronauts to the moon for the first time in more than 50 years, guys. And we've been talking to so many experts about this. It's a historic mission, and again, it is set for 6:24 p.m. And you can watch all this live on Fox. We'll be covering this up until the launch and even afterwards. We did hear from Rebecca Castor, Fox's correspondent, about the timeline here, and it's a pretty cool mission. So the Space Launch System rocket is fueled, and the Orion spacecraft is on the launch pad, ready to send those 4 astronauts on NASA's first lunar mission since 1972. And my stomach I get butterflies just listening to that. I'm so nervous for the astronauts, but I hope everything goes well. If all goes as planned, astronauts Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen will travel further into space than any human has gone before. And I know this is just a launch pad to hopefully send the Artemis to Mars. But there will be no touchdown on the moon for this mission. Just so you all know, there's no touchdown. The astronauts will slingshot around the moon to test Orion's ability to keep humans alive in deep space. It's the biggest test and for NASA, and it will be re-entering Earth's atmosphere when the spacecraft is traveling at about 25,000 miles per hour and temperatures are hot. On Orion's first launch in 2022, without a crew on board, there was more damage to the heat shield than expected. We know that they've been trying to do this mission for some time now. Last year, they tried to send astronauts to the moon, but it just didn't work out. So again, hoping that everything goes well. today. Again, this is all part of NASA's bigger plans to establish a long-term base camp on the moon that one day will catapult humans to Mars. Pretty cool here. Again, we are less than 5 hours away from NASA's Artemis II rocket launch happening at 6:24 p.m. And we'll be carrying this live here on Fox. So, you know, don't go anywhere. Make sure you watch this. It's pretty cool. Everybody's talking about it. And Fox 5 will be talking about it as well. You better believe that. Guys, let's move forward here. We know that registration has opened for the Peachtree Road Race. So if you're interested in that, another big event happening here. So lottery registration and Atlanta Track Club member registration are now open for the 57th running of the Northside Hospital Peachtree Road Race, inviting up to 60,000 participants to take part in Atlanta's 4th of July tradition and the world's largest 10K. That's pretty big, guys. If you're into running, you should hop on to this. This year's race takes place at a historic moment for both Atlanta and the nation as the United States marks its 250th anniversary and as the city hosts the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the largest sporting event in the world. With record-setting demand expected, participants are encouraged to go ahead and sign up early, register early for this. Again, registration open, lottery registration and member registration for Atlanta Track Club are now open for the 57th running of the Peachtree Road Race, a great tradition here. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. You can find more about this story on our website, but the news continues at 2 p.m., so don't go anywhere.
Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here at 2 o'clock on your Wednesday afternoon. It is April Fool's Day, so be careful what you consume online. I know I've already been gotten by a few jokes already today, but we've got a lot of things to cover. A historic landing to the far side of the moon, historic mission, rather, to the far side of the moon. We're going to be talking a lot about that. Also, the president's updated timeline for the war in Iran. But let's start a little closer to home with a case being closely followed by the Georgia Secretary of State's office. We're learning that dozens of victims may be able to recover money that they lost in a Ponzi scheme. Let's get out to our Tyler Fingert, who's been covering this for us. Tyler, good afternoon. What are you learning?
Time, dozens of victims from this massive Georgia Ponzi scheme may actually be able to be made whole. We're talking about millions of dollars here. The announcement was made this morning here at the Georgia State Capitol. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger says this is a major step forward, but also a warning there is still a long way to go. State officials say this all centers around the alleged First Liberty building and loan Ponzi scheme, which investigators believe cost Georgians at least $140 million. Officials say the First Liberty scheme was led by Edwin Brant Frost IV, who's also being investigated by the feds. Today, Raffensperger announced an agreement with Bankers Life to repay 46 investors who were recommended into the scheme by a former advisor. Officials say that advisor, Timothy Nathaniel Darnell, acted on his own without the company's knowledge. The Secretary of State's Securities Division opened an investigation into First Liberty building and loan for their involvement in orchestrating the Ponzi scheme back in July of last year. Officials say so far 3 emergency orders, which included maximum civil penalties of $500,000, were issued to 3 people, including Darnell and a member of the Frost family, for their involvement in the alleged Ponzi scheme. Officials say the real damage goes far beyond the money. We also heard from one victim who won't be getting any money back from this settlement, but hopes to be made whole at some point. Take a listen to him and also the Secretary of State.
I would hope so, but it's probably doubtful that I'll see it. I'll be 2.5 months, I'll be 94. And part of the reason that I got into that is one of my sisters had called me and asked me if I could set something up to help my sister. She was 15 months older than I am.
It was heartbreaking to hear their stories from those who have lost everything. Many of them seniors who saw their life savings taken from them by people they thought they could trust. As a Christian conservative businessman, hearing that their faith was weaponized to get them to invest was reprehensible.
This morning's announcement covers about 1/3 of the people who have come forward so far to say that they were victims of this alleged Ponzi scheme. So we're talking about 150 people so far have come forward, and about 46 are being made whole under this agreement. So they say about another 150 or so people, families, or entities are still out there, and the Secretary of State's office is asking anyone who may have been taken advantage of in this case to come forward. They want to hear from you. They want to try to be able to make this right and try to get your money back. Obviously, though, we know in Ponzi schemes, this is not even something that normally happens. So the fact that they're able to have come to this agreement to be able to get nearly $6.7 million back in the hands of 46 people, Ariel, this is fantastic news. And the Secretary of State's office is really glad that this was able to come to fruition today to make sure that people who lost everything can be able to hopefully continue on, since we know a lot of these people are seniors.
Yeah, Tyler, you know, this is absolutely incredible that they might even be able to see some money back, because that normally doesn't happen. Hearing from that 94-year-old man, soon to be, was just heartbreaking, because you think about, you know, so many people who are vulnerable, who put their trust in someone else and think that this is a good decision, and then they ended up having everything taken from them. So I guess my one question for you, Tyler, is did the Secretary of State's office, or in your reporting on the story, did you learn if there were any warning flags as to how all of this worked? How can we avoid something like this? And then, of course, if we think that maybe we were a victim, like you mentioned, I know you said contact the Secretary of State's office. What do those signs look like?
Well, so obviously, I mean, in the case of this specific victim, he'll be turning 94 this year. He said that he sat down with the family of Edwin Brant Frost IV and sat down with them and said he felt comfortable, that he did his research and due diligence. A lot of people did their due diligence, but according to both the federal investigators and the state investigators, this type of Ponzi scheme was done preying on people's not only political affiliations, being conservatives, but also their religious beliefs, and trying to be able to take money from people is what the feds and both the state investigators were saying. And so they didn't really have any warning signs for this, because obviously this was going on dating back several years, that they were able to take people's money, unfortunately, according to investigators.
Tyler, thank you so much for keeping us updated on this situation. Appreciate your reporting and letting us know what we can do, contacting the Secretary of State's office regarding the specific case if we think our family members, someone we know, has been a victim in all this. So appreciate your reporting. We'll see you again later this evening as you continue to follow up on this story. So thank you. Guys, I want to continue to keep you updated on some news we're following in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. And this deals with a school suddenly closing in Midtown. Midtown International School has announced that it's going to close, and it's going to happen this Friday. Board members cited a sharp decline in enrollment and significant financial gaps as the big reasons for deciding to close the school. But the sudden move really leaves teachers without paychecks and students without a school to finish the academic year. We are a few months yet from the summer, but this is really throwing a lot of families and educators in the lurch. So this is something we're going to continue to keep you updated on. In case you have not heard of Midtown International School, they work with high-achieving students, and the school has going to lose more than 20 full-pay middle and elementary students. They say that those are what caused those gaps. So we'll continue to keep you updated as this moves forward. I also want to let you know that this story is a little hard to listen to, but it is something that we are following, so I want to make sure that you're informed, because in Carroll County, a woman is in jail accused of child sex exploitation. The heartbreaking thing here is with these accusations center around a 6-month-old baby. Deputies charged Rachel Bloom with sexual exploitation of children, child molestation, and aggravated sexual battery, along with cruelty to children. They received a tip about a 6-month-old, and then authorities say they found a child and got a search warrant on the home. Investigators say that the woman, Rachel Bloom, later admitted to her involvement in the exploitation of the child and the distribution of illicit material. Deputies also found marijuana and drugs within reach of the child. So she was taken into custody Monday and now facing those charges. But according to the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, the investigation really started after a cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So a really important organization that does a lot of great work to make sure that children are able to be safely found and connected to law enforcement in situations like this. I also want to let you know about another story we're following involving a person who was arrested. You're taking a look at a photo from inside the back of a squad car, because Gwinnett County police have arrested a felon after they say a gun was found during a teen takeover investigation in Gwinnett County. A 33-year-old convicted felon was arrested and charged after this traffic stop because police were able to recover that firearm. They say it was during a special operation targeting a possible teen takeover, and they were working this detail on March 14th when they spotted a man wearing a ski mask leaving the area where the takeover was reported in Gwinnett County. Aviation units were called in to try to find visual surveillance as that man walked to a nearby parking lot. And investigators say the man was seen placing a backpack on the ground before walking away from it and loading an electric bike onto a friend's vehicle. They later got that backpack and were able to find that weapon inside. They conducted that traffic stop and ultimately discovered it was 33-year-old James Prayer as the passenger. Police claimed that Police say that Prayer claimed he should not be charged because the gun was not on him at the time, but because officers say they saw him dropping it off, he is now facing those charges. So we'll continue to keep you updated on this developing story. But in the meantime, I'd like to get out to our state capitol this afternoon, where our Deidre Dukes is working to keep us updated on the last day of the legislative session today. Deidre, it is great to see you. What are lawmakers looking at on this last day of session?
Well, it is all quiet here today because this is the day before Sine Die. And as you know, Sine Die is the last day of the legislative session when lawmakers make that final push to try to get their legislation, their bills through both houses and onto the governor's desk. So there are several bills still up there to be decided on tomorrow. And of course, tomorrow is the day where lawmakers in both the House and Senate will work. It is expected. It is traditionally this way, that they work late into the night, sometimes into the early morning hours of the next day to try to get as many bills finalized and passed and onto Governor Kemp's desk before Sine Die. And so we still have a lot of very important bills up in the air that they're trying to work to get final passage of, Ariel, including the state budget. That, of course, is a big one. Locking in property tax relief for homeowners, that still has to be voted on. Looking for final passage of that bill expected tomorrow. And, of course, debating the final path for a state income tax legislation. All three very big bills still making their way through the legislature for final passage. Now, we saw a very significant literacy bill receive final passage yesterday, and that really is a very important bill that speaks to educational opportunities for all of Georgia's children. It's really an effort to place and will ensure that literacy coaches are placed in elementary schools across the state, and that is a significant push to ensure that Georgia students who are struggling with reading, we know how important that is to the success of our scholars. In years to come, there'll be literacy coaches in Georgia's elementary schools to assist those students who need that instruction to ensure that by the time they reach the fourth grade, they are reading at grade level. And so that was a very significant piece of legislation that was celebrated here last night and into today. Now, we caught up with Governor Brian Kemp following an event here, a ceremony that he participated in earlier today, and he talked about a lot of what's been going on this legislative session, successes he's seen, and what's to come, what he hopes to accomplish gets accomplished here at the state capitol before Sine Die. And here's what he told us.
So that's where my focus was, but we've also been working with the legislature, and we will until they get done on property taxes and other taxes they're doing. The one thing I would like to mention, though, really that is kind of on the back burner now because we did this so early and so fast. If you remember coming into session, you all were all talking about affordability and what our citizens and Americans were dealing with. And this General Assembly and myself and our team, we have addressed that already, even before we've closed the session out. Department of Revenue right now is fixing to cut checks or send money back to people's bank accounts with the income tax rebate. Fourth time we've done that. We got the property tax relief baked in. We're lowering tax rates. We put a lot of one-time money into construction projects to help infrastructure, keep our economy moving. But the other thing that does is that keeps people working in our state, keeps money in their pocket, and lets them fight through these difficult times that we're in a lot of different ways. So I'm really excited that we already got that done, and want to thank the General Assembly for that as well.
So again, Ariel, as the governor highlighted, a lot accomplished during this session. Still several bills that they're going to try to push over that finish line before Sine Die. So still a lot of work to be done.
Quiet in the halls, Deidre, but a lot of work going on behind the scenes. So thank you so much for letting us know where things stand. Great hearing from the governor as well to see what kind of priorities he might be looking at. No doubt you'll keep us updated here into the evening as you continue to get the latest. So Deidre, I won't keep you. I'll let you get back to gathering information. Thanks so much for being with us live. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, you guys, I want to go out to a live feed of the Artemis II mission because this is really exciting, historic stuff that's happening today. The van holding the astronauts has just gotten to the launch pad. You can see there in Cape Canaveral, Florida at Kennedy Space Center. So this is the rocket that is set to launch to the far side of the moon. We are just hours away from the Artemis II rocket launch, and you're looking at this live switched feed here from from NASA. But keep in mind, as we take a look at the timeline, around 7:45 this morning, they started loading the propellant into NASA's Space Launch Rocket engine. And then the pre-launch is going to start, or rather did start, around 12:50 this afternoon. We saw the astronauts suiting up, walking out of the hallways. They got into a van, and right as we started at 2 o'clock, I was watching them drive towards the rocket. And you can see engineers working on everything, making sure that all systems are a go. The launch is set for 6:42 this evening, military time 1842 hours. So we're going to keep you updated because this is a critical test flight for the Artemis program. Astronauts are not going to be landing on a lunar surface. Rather, they're going to travel around the moon, proving the spacecraft is ready to safely land humans on the moon by 2028. This is a historic mission for a lot of reasons, but especially because it's going to be the farthest any human has gone into deep space. You can only imagine how those astronauts are feeling, 4 of them, to be a part of this historic moment. As we know, the 4 astronauts on board this spacecraft are going to be Victor Glover, Christina Koch, Jeremy Hansen, and Reed Wiseman. And as we await this launch, we are going to be checking in with our Rebecca Castor live in Cape Canaveral, Florida, here coming up around 2:35 this afternoon. So incredible to see this. We're going to keep you updated, and we're going to check in with her in just a little bit. But keep in mind, after launching, their crew is going to spend the first 24 hours orbiting Earth to make sure that spacecraft is good to go for the far side of the moon. The engines are going to then fire, take them around the moon, and they will come back. And at last check, this mission was supposed to take 10 days in all. We can chat with Rebecca coming up at 2:35 and make sure that's still the case. But you can see from this diagram how that is supposed to go. Incredible. Let's talk about some things happening on a national scale, because this is really significant outside of the Supreme Court today. We know that justices heard arguments regarding President Trump's birthright citizenship order. On day 1 in office, you may remember the president signed an executive order that seeks to end birthright citizenship for children of illegal immigrants. Now, President Trump arrived to hear the arguments in person today alongside Attorney General Pam Bondi. His presence marks the first time a sitting president has heard oral arguments at the Supreme Court. And while the president's presence is historic, he was not able to speak or make any arguments of his own. Rather, he had to listen. We saw lots of members of the public outside protesting and just waiting to hear and listen to those arguments today. But the case really hinges on the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, whether or not it guarantees citizenship to those born here in the United States. And the president's order argues the clause was adopted to confer citizenship on newly freed slaves and their children, not, he says, on children of immigrants in the United States temporarily or illegally. The justices do expect to rule on this case by the beginning of July, so we will stay tuned for that. But another order from the president that will no doubt face legal challenges and could end up in the Supreme Court. Let's talk about it. It is a order that the president signed as we await the midterm elections, the countdown really on for that. And this new executive order takes a look at creating a national voter list. The president signed this in the Oval Office, and it would really create this nationwide list of voters who are eligible. The Department of Homeland Security and the Social Security Administration have both been tasked with making a list of verified voters from every single state. Trump's order also calls on the United States Postal Service to send absentee ballots to people who aren't on the state's approved list, citing disproved and false claims of voter fraud linked to mail-in ballots. Now, the Trump administration is also looking to place barcodes on secure envelopes for mail-in ballots. A lot of critics on the other side are sounding the alarm, and several states are promising to take legal action, saying the federal government doesn't get to oversee elections. Rather, that's up to the individual states. For example, Arizona's Secretary of State Adrian Fontes says that the restrictions on ballot by mail are more than ironic, particularly in Arizona, where 82% of our voters vote by mail and elected Donald Trump by mail in 2024, and the president himself voted by mail just a week ago. That, of course, Arizona's Secretary of State saying that. But when you take a look at this, Oregon and Arizona are two states that rely heavily on mail-in ballots and say they're going to challenge this ruling from the president. But I'd like to let you take a listen to what the president had to say from the Oval Office alongside his Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, regarding this. Take a listen.
And remember, it's about voter integrity. We want to have honest voting in our country, because if you don't have honest voting, you can't have really a nation, if you want to know the truth. Howard, I'll give that to you.
Right, run these elections. They will, if they want to use the U.S. mail, the U.S. Postal Service, they're going to get a code, a barcode from the U.S. Postal Service, and they're going to put that on the envelope, and we will have one envelope per vote. None of this time where we have no idea, there's no observers to mail, there's no envelopes, there's no certainty. That's all going to go away, and what the president is doing today is he's going to make sure that mail-in ballots are safe, secure, and accurate, and will have a clear distinction. If you voted by mail, you will have it on the envelope. Obviously not on the ballot, but on the envelope. So we will know 1 million mail-in ballots. There'll be 1 million envelopes, and you'll be able to know exactly, correctly, that citizens voted.
You're taking a listen as the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and the President updated from the Oval Office on what they want to do regarding this national voter list. But I'd like to switch gears and talk about something else that the President is facing, because a federal judge has halted the ballroom project that's been the center of construction at the White House. And you can see from images the changes that have been made to the White House as this ballroom has started construction. But it was a Republican-appointed federal judge who decided to block this. And the construction on the White House ballroom has been ordered to stop more than 6 months after renovations first started, and the East Wing has been demolished. But this Bush-appointed judge in Washington temporarily blocked the $400 million project from continuing, writing, quote, "The President of the United States is the steward of the White House for future generations of first families. He is not, however, the owner," end quote. It was just 2 days ago when President Trump boasted of these newly unveiled design plans, giving reporters on board Air Force One a first look at what the ballroom is supposed to be. Democrats, as well as preservationist groups, have said that the Trump administration is making major changes to the White House without enough public input. Still, since its start, the White House has defended the project, saying the upgrade has been long overdue, and until this latest delay was on track to wrap up by 2028. The president says the project is necessary, and he's also said that it's free to taxpayers because private donors are funding it. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has said that these are just, quote, bad faith left-wing attacks, and the DOJ has already appealed the ruling for the judge's order. So that is something we're going to continue to keep you updated on. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, you guys, I want to continue to keep you guys updated with our weather forecast. We're going to bring in meteorologist Alex Forbes. Also want to get you the latest with the war in Iran, as the president has debuted a new timeline for when things could wrap up. So we're going to get to that coming up next. I do see some of you guys asking questions here in our chat about the moon and the Artemis II mission. We're going to talk about that with Alex coming up next as far as the weather and challenges that they could see. But yes, they are not planning to land on the moon. Rather, they are going to go around it. In 2028, that is the next mission where they plan to actually land on the lunar surface of the moon. But you're taking a live look at NASA engineers as they get this rocket ready for launch. The timeline today is around 6 this evening, a little after 6 this evening. That is when that rocket is set for launch. But again, this is all fluid based on the weather timing and the windows that are open. So we're going to talk about it coming up next. Welcome back in, everybody. I'm Ariel Onstadt here with meteorologist Alex Forbes. Alex, we are looking ahead to this historic Artemis II rocket launch, and it is insane to think about what this mission is trying to accomplish in terms of a future colony on the moon. So talk a little bit about the weather going on down there. And I know the windows are specific. So do you think that based on what we're seeing, things may not lift off today, or do you think the chances are good?
I think if the window were right now, we'd be having some problems. But the good news is the window is not right now. It's going to be later this evening. Yeah, so it's weird to think about it this way, right? Somebody with the same job that I have, meteorologist, has the last final green light in the process this evening. So that's kind of neat. We are seeing scattered showers down there. So for reference, you see Cape Canaveral labeled on your screen right there. Let me point out, so there's Cape Canaveral. It's right here where the launch pad is. So this entire section is closed off to the public. That's all the Space Force Station, and that is where the rocket's going to take off this evening. Now, when it takes off, it is going to go to the east over the Atlantic Ocean. That way, in the event, God forbid something happened, it's over the ocean, right? So that's where we need the weather to be clear. It's over that spot, but then also the cloud cover headed in that direction. Let's take a look at some of that. So I've got our satellite products as well. This is the visible satellite. And rain aside, if that cloud deck that you see right now were still over that particular spot, we would have problems. But it's moving to the west, and that's a piece of good news considering it's 2-something here in the afternoon. So let's talk about it. The NASA releases a forecast, right? And the forecast is an 80% chance for partly cloudy skies with scattered showers. You can still take off with that. So that's important to note. Winds 10 to 15 miles an hour, some gusts upwards of 30 miles an hour. So that's the way we see it right now. 81 in Atlanta, 82 in Covington, 84 over in Eatonton. And then as we work our way into the afternoon, we are going to be getting maybe a degree or two warmer. So there's your Fox 5 Storm Team 7-day forecast there. Watching for some wet weather there on Sunday. I know that's Easter Sunday. And then as we work our way into early next week, cooler, not going to be close to records anymore. High temperatures in the upper 60s and low 70s.
Okay, well, morning, better chances for Easter for any cuts or things like that.
Morning.
Okay, good to know. Morning, you guys. You heard Alex say it. Morning on Easter Sunday. Alex, thank you so much for the update. I do appreciate it. Guys, let's talk about something regarding the war in Iran, because I see a lot of you talking about this here in our chats and keeping us updated or wanting to know the latest as far as the president's update on the timeline for this war to end. So the White House is hinting an exit plan is imminent, possibly in the form of a ceasefire requested by the Iranians. Tuesday, President Trump set a new timeline to wrap up Operation Epic Fury, telling reporters he believed it would be over in 2 to 3 weeks. But on Wednesday morning, that all changed. The president wrote on Truth Social saying, quote, Iran's new regime president, much less radicalized and far more intelligent than his predecessors, has just asked the United States of America for a ceasefire. The president says that will only happen when the Strait of Hormuz is reopened, and until then, the airstrikes are going to continue. But some say the president still has a long way to go as it relates to achieving his goals in Iran. The Iranians remain defiant, saying they've received messages from Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, but say that no negotiations are happening. One official said, quote, the trust level is at 0. This is what the Iranians are saying publicly. Privately, what negotiations are happening remains to be seen. But according to the president, it seems progress might be being had. Now, as we continue to take a look at this, President Trump is going to address the nation about the war at 9 o'clock Eastern tonight. You can watch it right here on Fox Local. We're going to cover that for you guys, so you can watch what the president has to say regarding this. But keep in mind, the president has said a couple more weeks regarding this war. We will see what ultimately happens. But as we continue here at 2 o'clock, do want to check in with the latest as far as that launch with our Rebecca Caster. That is straight ahead here on as we continue to keep you updated on this historic mission. Welcome back in, everybody. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here. I want to continue to keep you updated on the latest regarding the launch around the far side of the moon. We are just about ready for blastoff here, and in just hours, NASA's Artemis II's rocket is going to launch. It's going to send astronauts on this mission to the moon, or rather around it, for the first time in more than 50 years. So let's get out to Fox's Rebecca Castor, live from Cape Canaveral, Florida. Rebecca, it is great to see you. Incredible assignment today. Tell us, what is NASA truly trying to achieve with a mission like this?
Hey, Ariel, well, you can see that countdown clock behind me. We are not far from it now, just 3 hours and 48 minutes to lift off. It is the second critical test flight for the Artemis program, but it is the first time that astronauts are going to be on board. Not too long ago, actually, from where we're standing right now, we were able to see the van carrying the 4 astronauts out to the launch pad, and we know right now that they are strapping into their seats. So what's significant about this mission is they are not going to land on the moon this time, but instead they're going to travel around the moon and back, really to test the Orion spacecraft. It's only the second time this spacecraft is going into space, and they want to make sure everything is working properly for future missions. They're going to test the navigation system, the communication system, as well as the critical life support systems that are going to keep the humans alive while traveling in this vehicle into deep space. So that is primary goal number 1 with this mission, and it's going to pave the way for potentially a future moon landing in 2028. And it's really a big step in NASA's bigger goal to establish a long-term base camp on the moon that will one day possibly catapult humans to Mars.
Incredible, Rebecca. I can't imagine living on the Mars or the moon, but you know, once upon a time, people couldn't have imagined a plane or a car. So who knows what the future has in store for us. Curious here, what challenges has the Artemis II mission really faced? How is NASA going to be monitoring a flight like this?
Yeah. Right. So this launch was supposed to happen in early February, but there were several delays. One was because there were issues with the hydrogen fueling. There were some leaks, and then there were problems with the pressurization system. So both of those issues, NASA says, have been resolved, and it's a really good sign that we are just about 3 hours 46 minutes to liftoff, and everything is still running smoothly. NASA hasn't identified any problems. It's still all systems go. So really good sign there. The biggest test for the Orion spacecraft is going to be when it re-enters Earth's atmosphere. This is something that NASA is going to be monitoring very closely. This is when the spacecraft is traveling 25,000 miles per hour, extremely fast, and it's really heating up as it re-enters Earth. And there was more damage than expected on Artemis 1 during re-entry. There was more damage to the heat shield. NASA's confident they identified the root problem. They've done over 100 tests, so they are confident that this spacecraft is ready to go and bring those astronauts back safely. But I'll tell you, that is probably going to be the moment when a lot of the team here at the Kennedy Space Center is going to be holding their breath.
Rebecca, you know, I'm not even on this spacecraft. I am holding my breath. I want everything to go well, as so many Americans do. You know, these 4 astronauts on board this flight, they're getting to make history. What have they been saying or reacting to a flight like this? How have they been reacting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what's really cool about this team of astronauts is all of the ceilings that they are breaking. Victor Glover, the pilot, he is going to become the first black astronaut to go to the moon. Christina Cook is going to become the first woman. And Jeremy Hansen, who's from Canada, is going to become the first non-American to make it to the moon. But when we ask these astronauts about these, you know, major milestones that they're breaking, these records they're setting, you know, they're not really focused on that. During their last press conference before heading into quarantine here at the Kennedy Space Center, all of them are truly just laser focused on the mission of this goal. It's not personal for them. It is very professional, and they are just focused on making sure that this mission is done successfully so that they can pave the way for the astronauts who will actually be landing on the moon. It's not necessarily going to be this team, so they're just happy to be part of it.
Yeah, incredible to think 2028 we could have that next actual physical moon landing. Final question for you here really quickly, Rebecca. What's the timeline once the rocket is launched? I had heard 10 days, but wanting to understand what that timeline looks like.
Yeah, so the first 24 hours after launch, the astronauts are going to orbit Earth. They're not going to go too far, just in case there are any problems with the spacecraft. Then if everything is good to go, they're going to fire those engines, and that will put them on a path towards the moon. Day 5, they'll make it pretty close to the moon. They'll end up in the moon's neighborhood, is how they're wording it. And then on day 6, that is going to be the historic day when they are going to be further from the moon than further from the Earth, I should say, than any human has been before. They're going to be 250,000 miles away from Earth, just about 4,000 to 6,000 miles close to the moon. So we're told that the moon is going to look like the size of a basketball to the astronauts on board. So after that, once that is done, the moon's gravity is going to send them back to Earth. That's going to be about 10 days from now. If this launch happens today, we're expecting them to splash down in the Pacific Ocean on April 10th.
Okay, Rebecca, good to know. Appreciate the conversation, letting us know how this mission is looking as we shape up for launch. Incredible bit of history. Thank you so much for keeping us informed. We'll see you again here around 3:35 Eastern Time for another update. So, Rebecca Castor, appreciate it this afternoon. We'll let you get back to it. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, you guys, this historic mission, continuing to monitor the feeds, letting you guys know if anything changes. We'll tell you if it does, but in the meantime, we will continue to monitor. Again, they're headed to the far side of the moon, and then in 2028, prepping for that actual physical moon landing. But let's bring it back closer to Earth, right here in the state of Georgia, where we can talk a little bit about a lesson, or lessons, I should say, for reviewing Georgia's public health system. Rebecca Grapevine from healthbeat.org joins us live. So, Rebecca, it is great to see you on this Wednesday afternoon.
Great to see you as well.
Okay, so Rebecca, I'd love to know a little bit about your reporting, where you looked at some other states and the lessons that they found from their public health systems, their health departments, and how that could be applied to Georgia. I think a good place to start might be, what are some specific problems that Georgia's health departments face?
Yeah, there's a couple problems. One, as you might imagine, there's, a really wide variation between what health departments in a city like Atlanta and, out in our more rural areas can offer. And then, it's really hard to get and keep people in the workforce to kind of stay in the workforce, working in public health and bringing their expertise to bear on helping their communities. So those are two big gaps that some legislators identified last year when they looked at this.
So, Rebecca, when you took a look at this situation, I heard you say, you talked a little bit about how staffing in rural departments might face some of these shortages, which is understandable. And you took a look at Indiana and Mississippi and some other states to see what lessons they might have learned with their systems. What did you find? What were they applying that could work here?
I thought the Indiana case was really similar to the Georgia case because they had, a Republican governor and state legislature controlled by Republicans. So that's very similar to Georgia, and they had similar problems. And they set out on a listening tour, talked to all kinds of folks across the state, and then went to the state legislature with their pitch for a lot more funding, 1,500% increase in funding. And, they got it. They got $225 million over 2 years. The deal was local health departments had to agree to be measured on certain metrics. They could choose those metrics based on what their community needed and report that back to the state, kick in some of their own money, and in exchange, they would get a pretty giant boost in funding. And the state set up this awesome website where you can see what every county is doing. You can see the data, you can read stories, you can look at pictures to see how the local health departments are spending their money. So legislators felt like there was a motivation for them to provide more money because they were getting more information about what these local departments were doing and how they were solving local problems.
Interesting. So it's kind of like a mutualistic arrangement where legislators and lawmakers felt like it was money well spent because of how they could monitor. And then,
And they didn't have to, the local health departments didn't have to agree to the system. They could have stuck with the old way if they wanted to, but almost all of them bought into it because, at the end of the day, who doesn't want more money?
Yeah, it's true. So what did you find in the case of Mississippi?
That was another surprising one. There was a little bit of a simpler approach there. Every year they published a public health sort of data report, and all they did was they took that data and they put it into a one-page graphic document. And they called that a Mississippi Public Health Report Card. And it kind of had just cute graphics talking about the good, the bad, how they compared to other states. And they said it's worked really well so far. It gives them kind of an excuse to hold a press conference down at the Capitol and bring in media and just kind of report on how the state was doing. So that one simple thing of taking, you know, a thick document and turning it into a one-pager with graphics was a big step forward for them.
It's really interesting when you think about how the way that they made this, it could have been a cute little graphic made today's day and age with some AI in Canva, and that really helped make a difference in terms of how the health department or health systems operated, or at least helped them to be better at what they were doing.
Yeah, a lot of these efforts in all of the states I looked at, it was about kind of, hey, we do all this stuff, but most people don't really know about it. So what's the best way to get this story out in a way that lands with people so that they understand how we're spending their taxpayer dollars and why what we're doing is important? So it's about communication about the good work they're already doing.
Yeah, putting it together in a way that people can digest. Well, Rebecca, final question for you here as we wrap up. When looking at these states and their lessons, you feel like they could be applied here to Georgia, and maybe we could get some use out of doing similar things. What do you think some of the most efficient or effective methods Georgia could adopt would be based on the research that you've done?
You know, one thing that surprised me was all of them had relatively narrow focuses. Like out in Oregon, they only focused on 3 health metrics. But the idea was that if we focus on these 3, that will help, a rising tide will lift all boats. So I think the focus idea is one that's important. And then in a business state like Georgia, making the business case. Why does improving health help business? That's something that really lands with legislators.
Especially since Georgia's really positioned itself to be the state for business. And so making that work for businesses who want to come here and attract a vibrant workforce, it makes sense. So Rebecca, as always, appreciate our conversations. Thanks so much for joining me live. I'll let you get back to your reporting. As always, people can find more information about this story on healthbeat.org. So Rebecca Grapevine, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Okay, guys, as we continue here, I want to check in the next little bit on a story regarding a new facility. Georgia's governor and Atlanta's mayor were there to celebrate the opening of a new Oddfellows building. We're going to tell you what this building is set to do in this facility for Atlanta's homeless coming up next. Welcome back in, everybody. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here on your Wednesday afternoon. A nonprofit is working to break the cycles of recidivism and homelessness. And our Chris Rosenthal is out live where a new facility is set to open. So, Chris, great to see you. Lots of activity. What's happening today?
Yeah, absolutely. Just had a ribbon cutting, actually, for this new building here, the Oddfellows building. Actually, got the mayor right here, actually. Mayor, if I can ask you just about this this ribbon cutting here today. Why is this so important? What does this mean to the city here?
Yeah, this is another example of us all coming together to help those that are in need. This is to help those that are experiencing homelessness in our city. The Georgia Works program has been phenomenal at helping people get off the streets and helping them get to work. And so this is our investment with the state, the Invest Atlanta, the city of Atlanta, all working together to help men that want to change their lives to be able to change their lives and get a good job and have a place to stay. This is 160 units, and they'll be going out into the community doing work.
What will this look like for the citizens in this area and for the street here?
Yeah, this is going to look good because the individuals that could be living on the street are not going to be living inside, and they won't have to go out and ask for change or ask for food because they're going to be working and they're going to have a place to stay. And so it's 160, and they've already started occupying them. So they're great looking units. They have their own refrigerator, own microwave, own bathroom and shower. And so this is just phenomenal, and I'm glad to be a part of it right now in Atlanta.
All right, thank you so much, Mayor. So let me give you, this is a very kind of active situation here. We just had a ribbon cutting. I'll tell you a little bit more about this this building here. And Georgia Works. Georgia Works is founded in 2013. They've helped about 1,200 homeless men, get back on their feet. They call this, one of those sort of situations where they, teach a man to fish, give them an opportunity to learn, to get a job, to become self-sufficiency is sort of the word that they use. And so they've been housed in the Gateway Center for a while, but now this new facility on Auburn Avenue will really allow them to expand, like the mayor said, 160 men here. The one rule for them, one of the main rules for them is they have to stay sober. No drugs, no alcohol. They provide services for them. They have a staffing service for these men. And really, gives them a chance to really get back on their feet. And of course, the mayor's here, the governor's here today, having a ceremony. They have their support here behind this.
Chris, this is a wonderful project. And real quick, while I have you, I want to talk about the impact of programs like this, because so often we say, a new facility is opening, or this effort is being made to help the homeless, or to help end criminal recidivism. But we don't actually talk about the impact. So specifically, I want to talk about the impact of this program. Graduates I see have changed their lives by going on to become more productive members of the community. Some stats in the information you sent us: 100% have jobs by graduation, 90% have renewed communication with at least one family member, and 99% of the men have not been arrested since graduation. That's according to statistics that from the Georgia Works. So this seems like a program that is really plugged in to actually knowing what works for the community and trying to be effective.
Absolutely. And I was speaking with Bill McGann earlier. He's the founder here of Georgia Works. And, this isn't just like a homeless shelter, what you might think of. I mean, they really do help turn these men around, turn their lives around. And, one of the things I thought was really interesting, I talked to one of the gentlemen earlier, it just gives them a chance to, a lot of these people reconnect with their families. That can be a support system. But, some of these men have had criminal histories or issues with drugs, alcohol, and it really gives them a chance to really get back to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Chris, thank you so much for taking us out there live today. Love that you were able to talk to the mayor about what this is going to mean for the community, so we appreciate it. We'll see you back here around 3 o'clock, 3:50 or so, we appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you again later this afternoon. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, you guys, we're going to switch it up a little bit, because when we think of NASCAR cars, we think of really high-powered engines and high speeds. We don't necessarily think electric vehicles can fit into the equation of a high-powered NASCAR race car, but Eli Jordan is going to show us how these two are actually making quite the pairing. Check it out.
That's right. I am at Echo Park Speedway here in Henry County, and they're showing off an electric vehicle. Check this out. ABB, Ford, Chevy, and Toyota have gone in collaboration to develop this electric NASCAR. It has about 1,360 horsepower. Top speed's gotten up to 165 miles an hour, and they brought it out here and gave it for a little spin, showing it off. They're going around tour around a lot of American race here, and just showing off what it can do. You know, there's a lot of different tracks, and this thing might not be appropriate for every track, but it's gotten up to 165 over in Phoenix. It can last about an hour on certain tracks, but not on this track. This track's a pretty big one. But there's still a lot of development going on. But I spoke to the driver and the vice president of ABB earlier.
Yeah, it's the first time I got to drive that car, obviously an electric NASCAR. It's a big car, it's quite heavy compared to what I'm used to, but it's got a lot of torque, a lot of power. So I did a few acceleration without the traction control, and you do realize how powerful it is. Of course, you know, in the corners you carry the weight of the battery, but the power you feel is pretty impressive. You know, from 0 to 60, it's amazing the acceleration you get to feel, and you really understand that those EVs are coming and getting better and better.
It's the ABB NASCAR EV prototype. It's built in collaboration with Ford, Chevy, and Toyota. Since we launched this car, Ford has launched an EV prototype and Chevy has launched an EV prototype, and we did an exhibition with all three cars in Chicago over the summer.
Is this thing race ready?
It's a prototype, so we are testing. We're testing today. So we haven't had it at top speed yet. That's the first question I get. This is an amazing vehicle, 1,360 horsepower, so it's fast. But we're still doing testing on different types of tracks. Where would this car run well? Where would it not perform well? And really kind of learn the technology so that one day maybe it could be race ready.
Now don't worry, you're still going to be hearing the roar of the combustion engines going off. There's still a lot of development to go with these EV batteries, and make them have better endurance to be able to make it around these tracks and sustain the race. There's no filling up over in the pits, but so they got still a little bit of development to go, but this is some awareness showing off how advanced we've gotten with electric vehicles. Reporting over at Echo Park Speedway, back to you guys.
All right, well, Eli, thanks so much for letting us know about this. Pretty cool and great to see there at Echo Park Speedway. As we continue, I want to get this in because I know some of you out there have a Gmail account you made when you were a teenager, and you really wish you could change it because hey, maybe what you made when you were 16 as an email address doesn't fit you anymore. Google's now allowing you to change your email addresses. The company announced Tuesday all United States Google account users can change their username. By going to the Google settings page, you'll be able to log on with your new email address or be able to use your new email address by simply signing into Google services, and then you can change your username. Google says it will still retain the user's previous data like emails, photos, and messages, but you'll be able to receive emails at your former email address. So it's kind of creating a new one and forwarding, if you will. Google does recommend backing up your data beforehand just to be safe, and they urge users to check to see if there are extra precautions to take if you use a Chromebook, sign in with it. Sign in with Google for non-Google sites and connect remotely with a Chrome desktop, they say, for best results, or if you do use that. You'll only be able to create a new username or a new email, rather, every 12 months. So choose wisely, but if you do have a Gmail address you'd like to see changed, you can now do that. So good news there. As we continue here, you guys, we've got a lot more to come. 3 o'clock, Tom Haynes is waiting to join us. We're going to be talking about the latest coming up here locally and nationally. There are a few stories we're following, including a man who was arrested after a triple shooting. Tom Haynes is going to talk about that straight ahead.
Welcome to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. So happy you're with us this afternoon. I'm Tom Haynes, live with you in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom, keeping you up to date on all the news that is breaking today on this Wednesday. We begin with state troopers apprehending a man in Gwinnett County after he allegedly shot 3 people at a northwest Atlanta apartment complex on Tuesday night. Annie Mapp live for us this afternoon. Annie, what are police telling you about what happened at this hour?
Hi, Tom. Good afternoon. Yeah, police responded to that shooting Tuesday night. It was at that apartment complex on Dixie Hill Circle. Officers say they got there and found 2 women who had been shot and a man who had also been shot. They say that man had serious injuries and unfortunately ended up passing from those gunshot wounds. The suspect in that case allegedly took off after being involved in this crime and then was later tracked down by Georgia State Patrol, who was able to apprehend him. APD says they have been dealing just with a lot of violence this week. If you'll take a look just at the different video that we've been able to capture at these various crime scenes, they have responded just between Monday and Tuesday to 4 shootings. 3 of those shootings have been fatal. The chief says that incident last night was a case of domestic violence, but shootings that they responded to on Monday were all a little bit different. He says one of the calls was related to shots being fired during a case of road rage. They also responded to 2 different shots fired calls, which they believe were both related to drugs. Now, despite the amount of shootings that the chief says they have seen this week, he says the city is safe. Take a listen to what he said.
At individuals possessing guns that are angry, individuals that are possessing guns during criminal activity. This is what the outcome is. And this department will find you. This department will take you into custody and place you before court.
And the chief did say crime has been trending downwards here in Atlanta, and he believes it will continue to do so. He says they are not going to tolerate people who decide to resort to gun violence in these different situations, Tom.
Annie, Atlanta police, no doubt, not kidding around when it comes to this kind of stuff. They've held news conference after news conference, multi-jurisdictional news conferences, putting the word out that they're not going to tolerate this kind of behavior, especially when it comes to gang-related violence. You know, the Atlanta Police Department is touting a reduction in crime overall over the past couple of years, but clearly the police chief putting out that word that that if you commit a crime like this, especially where it relates to gun violence, the police department is going to find you and arrest you.
Yeah, and last night during that press conference, he did give a reminder that there is really good CCTV across the city. So just assume that if you're out here doing any type of illegal activity or firing guns, that there is a camera that probably captured it. So he wants to send that warning out to these suspects that are committing these crimes across town.
Yeah, surveillance, a huge part of police investigations and their ability to track down suspects in situations like this. Annie Mapp reporting live for us from downtown Atlanta this afternoon. Annie, thanks. Also in the news here at 3 o'clock, Midtown International School. Don't know if you might have passed that or not. It's in the Druid Hills area on Sheridan Road and Briarcliff Road. We understand is shutting its doors this Friday before the end of the academic year. This is a huge shock to parents who send their kids there. It is an expensive private school, one that's been open for quite some time, and they announced that they're closing as of Friday. The school board citing a sharp decline in enrollment and significant financial gaps for the sudden move. Of course, that is a valuable piece of property. It's located across from the Atlanta Hawks training facility and Emory University's orthopedic hospital. A large apartment complex, and next to a high-profile athletic club. So all eyes will be on what happens to the Midtown International School, at least the property that sits on, here in the coming weeks, months, as we move forward. But it leaves teachers without paychecks and students without a school to finish their semester. The board says it is working to provide guidance on refunds and upcoming graduations in the coming days. A 20-year-old Carroll County woman facing multiple felony charges after investigators say that she sexually exploited a 6-month-old infant. Authorities arrested Rachel Bloom Monday after receiving a cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Deputies say the child has been safely removed from the home. The infant's grandmother was also taken into custody on drug-related charges, but thankfully that 6-month-old baby is now in safe hands. Gwinnett County police arresting a convicted felon following an investigation into a potential teen takeover. These are events that you've no doubt heard about. Officers saying that they spotted 33-year-old James Prayer wearing a ski mask and abandoning a backpack containing a firearm before leaving the scene. Aviation units tracked Prayer to a nearby vehicle where he was taken into custody during a traffic stop. He's now facing charges for weapons possession. The Fulton County Board of Elections is meeting to discuss candidate Tiffany Henyard's qualifications for the May primary. It's a story we've been on top of here. Angelique Proctor in Fairburn with the afternoon's latest developments. Angelique?
Well, good afternoon to you, Tom. We are here at the Fulton County Board of Elections hub. They actually had a meeting this afternoon and made a decision to look into the residency of this very controversial candidate. She is Tiffany Henyard, and like you said, we have done stories on her before. She was dubbed America's worst mayor by Newsweek and other publications. She is quite charismatic, the former mayor of Dalton, Illinois, where she lost her re-election bid after allegations of lavish spending. Now, she immediately moved to Atlanta. She has since qualified to become a Fulton County commissioner here. She's interested in representing District 5 that Marvin Arrington held for so long. But the chair of the Fulton County Board of Elections says 2 electors and members of the public have raised questions about her residency. Now, Henyard told Fulton County officials she has rented a house in the Chattering Springs subdivision in the southern part of the county.
We have seen a lease for May 1st, 2025, and on that same date, she was also still the mayor of a city in Illinois. We'll ask our attorney first to explain what the law is with regarding to determine if the Board of Superintendents can challenge. At the time that she gave us the lease with a resident in Fulton County on May 1st, 2025. At that same time, she was also living in and a mayor in Illinois and also a supervisor of a township in Illinois.
So that is the question. How can you live in Fulton County and be a mayor in Illinois at the same time on the same day? Those are questions that this board will now hope to answer. They have actually decided to have a residency hearing in April next week, next Thursday, April 9th, and at that time they are expecting Henyard to come forward and explain exactly what all of this is about. We did also hear that it takes more than just where you live. It's also where you are registered to vote. Listen now to how she went about registering to vote here in Fulton County.
How did we receive her registration?
She registered through the online voter registration system. She applied for her Georgia driver's license February 26, 2026, and she registered February 27, 2026.
So the attorney says you have to have residency for 1 year before you take office. If she were to win this race, she would not take office until January of 2027. But there are a lot of questions before we get to that, and there are questions that hopefully will be answered next week when they have this residency hearing. Another thing that they talked about today is that they want to use their subpoena power to get lots of documents, not only to see her lease, but to find out about homestead exemption and to find out about utilities, when she may have had those turned on, and exactly what is going on here as it relates to her residency. I should also mention that she has been a Democrat for all of her elected life, but she has come to Fulton County and plans to run for District 5 as a Republican. Tom?
Yeah, Angelique, you're so good at sort of contextualizing the implications of races like this, elections like this. How important is this district that she is running in? And then what about the partisan split there? Do they normally vote overwhelmingly one way or the other?
Well, this is District 5. This is a district in South Fulton. It's been overly Democratic. Marvin Arrington Jr., the attorney and son of Marvin Arrington Sr., who was on the Atlanta City Council for many, many years, his son has had this position and has represented this area, which has been a Democratic area. Now, there are already 4 Democratic candidates in this race. She has decided to run as a Republican, so that would be very interesting because she, in effect, becomes the only Republican in the race.
Interesting. We'll see if she's able to appeal to voters in, as you say, that largely Democratic district, District 5. Angelique Proctor with such good insight and experience covering races like that and the implications of a case like this. Angelique, thanks so much. Want to take you to Florida now, where it is all the news today, and that is the hopeful launch on the part of NASA of the Artemis rocket. These are live pictures, and how is that for a spectacular sight? On board that rocket are the 4 astronauts that are going to travel all the way up to the moon and back. All right. And so they've opened a launch window between 6 and 8 p.m. in order to pull this off. You're like, why only between 6 and 8 p.m.? Because that is the time of day when the Earth is in a rotational position to slingshot these guys out to the moon and one woman on board that rocket, and to position them such that they can orbit around the moon and then make it all the way back. So this is sort of history in the making once again, if you will. We've already been to the moon, but we're going to try to get back there. And so NASA is paving that course today, again, with the hopeful launch of the Artemis. Just hours away now from Artemis II. These astronauts will be headed up there. This is the first time this has happened in 50 years. All right, so the crew is going to get out into deep space. And what is considered deep space? I guess it's any time you pass the moon, then you're considered to be in deep space. Goal is to prove that that ship is ready to safely land humans on the moon, hopefully, according to NASA, by 2028. Coming up here a little bit later in this hour, we're going to head live to Florida pre-launch to talk about what all is going into this launch, the weather. Talk to our meteorologist here about the weather down there, weather permitting, and what's going to go into this mission ahead. President Trump making history himself today as the first sitting president to go into the Supreme Court to listen to oral arguments. Accompanied by his Attorney General Pam Bondi, the president watched as the justices weighed the legality of his executive order seeking to end birthright citizenship for children of undocumented immigrants. The high-stakes case hinges on the 14th Amendment and could redefine who is automatically granted U.S. citizenship if they're born here. So that's the crux of the issue here. If you are an immigrant to this country and you are what the government considers to be illegal, that is, you don't have a visa, you don't have papers, you don't have immigrant status here in the United States, and you have a child born on U.S. soil, many would argue that the Constitution protects what is known as birthright citizenship. But the administration is arguing that there are loopholes in that constitutional argument, and so they are arguing before the High Court today with the President of the United States in attendance about the constitutionality of birthright citizenship. As the countdown to the midterm elections continues, a new executive order from the White House is looking to shake up the election cycle. President Trump signed the order authorizing a nationwide list of eligible voters while citing concerns over voter integrity. Several states already promising legal action to block the move. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick spoke out on this today.
And remember, it's about voter integrity. We want to have honest voting in our country, because if you don't have honest voting, you can't have really a nation, if you want to know the truth. Howard, I'll give that to you.
Right, run these elections. They will, if they want to use the U.S. mail, the U.S. Postal Service, they're going to get a code, a barcode from the U.S. Postal Service, and they're going to put that on the envelope, and we will have one envelope per vote. None of this time where we have no idea, there's no observers to mail, there's no envelopes, there's no certainty. That's all going to go away, and what the president is doing today is he's going to make sure that mail-in ballots are safe, secure, and accurate, and will have a clear distinction. If you voted by mail, you will have it on the envelope. Obviously not on the ballot, but on the envelope. So we will know 1 million mail-in ballots. There'll be 1 million envelopes, and you'll be able to know exactly, correctly, that citizens voted.
All right, that is the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick talking on the voter issue involving mail, which makes it a federal issue. And its relation to casting absentee ballots, something the president has long opined on since retaking office. Construction at the White House on the new ballroom that the president is building is at a standstill right now. Not something that is welcome news to this administration. A federal judge blocked the $400 million project, and so construction has stopped there. The ruling states President Trump needs congressional approval to continue renovations on the East Wing, something the administration disputes after certainly more than one president has made modifications to the White House. A pool installed, a bowling alley installed. Bill Clinton put a running track around the driveway of the White House, tennis court, rose garden. I mean, you name it. Modifications have been made in the past without congressional approval, and that is the argument that the administration is standing on. The White House maintaining that the project is privately financed as well, not using government funds, and necessary for the historic integrity of that property. The White House hinting at a potential exit plan for Iran, as President Trump claims the regime has officially requested a ceasefire. I heard news today that the president might speak out on this issue tonight, and it looks like that indeed is going to happen. This announcement comes just one day after the president set a new 3-week timeline to wrap up Operation Epic Fury, something that has rattled markets, not only the New York Stock Exchange, but the price per barrel of oil. The president says that airstrikes will continue until the Strait of Hormuz is fully reopened. Iranian officials remain defiant, however, insisting no direct negotiations are in place. But let's listen to a little bit about what the president had to say about it today.
Gas prices today, they hit $4.
We're $4, yeah, and we have a country that's not going to be throwing a nuclear weapon at us in 6 months.
But Americans are feeling the effects in the interim.
And they're also feeling a lot safer.
What is the plan to bring them back down?
All I have to do is leave Iran, and we'll be doing that very soon. And they'll become tumbling down. And stock prices were up today almost to a record. They've been, again, we have had regime change. Now, regime change was not one of the things I had as a goal. I had one goal. They will have no nuclear weapon. And that goal has been attained. They will not have nuclear weapons. But we're finished. And I think within maybe 2 weeks, maybe a couple of days longer to do the job, because we'll hit bridges, and we've hit some. We'll hit some bridges. We've got a couple of nice bridges in mind. But if they come to the table, well, that'll be good.
All right, that's President Trump talking about the timeline to end the war in Iran. Obviously, many hopeful that this winds up soon and the flow of oil gets moving once again in the Strait, and that a new, more friendly regime is in place in Iran when all is said and done. Coming up here, we talked about the Artemis liftoff today, that window opening between 6 and 8 p.m. tonight down in Florida. Meteorologist Alex Forbes is going to talk about the chances of that happening weather-wise down in Florida. plus look at our own forecast. Kind of feels a little like summer out there today. We're going to talk to Alex on the other side of this break. Wow. All right, here now with meteorologist Alex Forbes to talk about our weather. You're not going to talk about the president setting the new timeline for the war in Iran, are you?
Probably could, but not right now.
You. Weather. We got a lot going on, not only here in our neck of the woods, but down in Florida with the launch of the Artemis. I'm not sure if we have that live picture up right now of Artemis sitting on the launch pad. Oh. Take a look at that. This is so cool because this is a little bit of the behind the scenes of them loading the rocket, not with cargo, but with people.
Exactly.
Okay? 4 people on board that rocket ship right now. Imagine sitting on there. I think they got in there just after 2 o'clock this afternoon. From 2 until anywhere between 6 and 8 p.m.
Well, they're going to be on the rocket for a lot longer than that.
No, but at least they'll be able to get up and do stuff.
Exactly, yeah. So it's going to be until about 6:24. That's when that launch window opens. And this is the first lunar mission since 1972 with people on it. And I was negative 20 some odd years old when that happened.
I'm not going to tell you how I was 1.
Okay, there you go. But I bet you don't remember it, right? So this is a first for millions of people here in the United States, and it's going to be neat to see tonight. And of course, a lot of this dependent on the weather. You see that a live image right now, mostly clear skies. It did rain in Cape Canaveral earlier, which to me is good news, because let's get that out of the way, right? If we get that done with earlier in the day, then hopefully we'll be able to pull this off without a hitch as you're looking live there in Cape Canaveral. Let me show you this. So the launch sequence, if you will, the checklist that they go through. Do you know what the very last person is to say go?
I would guess the astronauts, but maybe the meteorologists?
A meteorologist.
Okay.
Because it's all dependent on the weather at that specific moment. Not 5 minutes ago, not 10 minutes ago, not 15 minutes ago. It's at that specific moment, and there are various sensors on that launch pad you see there that report the wind, and the wind is also a factor in this. So according to NASA, we have an 80% chance launch probability according to the weather. That's a 20% chance of seeing clouds of some variety, which would prevent this from happening, or even a scattered shower. But the good news is that launch window is 2 hours. So if we have the cloudy conditions at 6:24, or say a shower at 6:24, and we don't at 7:30, then perhaps 7:30 is going to be able to be that launch time. looking ahead, if we don't get this off tonight, we do have another launch window that opens at 7 tomorrow. All right, let's talk about our weather because we've got some things to talk about. How about that? Been a while since we've seen things on Fox 5 Live Viper and some of these locations. 82 in Atlanta, 79 in Canton, 81 in Gainesville, 77 in Blairsville, 83 over in Athens, 86 pushing 90 down there in Eatonton. A closer look at where the heavier rain is falling, even picking up some pinks right now in parts of, that's going to be on the Taylor, Crawford, Upson County Point, also into parts of Monroe County. How about Jackson County, or Jackson, Butts County, where you're looking at some of the heavier showers and parts of Lake Sinclair as well. Up in northeast Georgia, right there near Tallulah Falls, pretty good downpour. And some more rain over into the Cleveland area, and then over into the Dade, Walker County line area right along the peak of Lookout Mountain. March is in the books, broke out the record book. So now that we are done with the third month of the year, we can officially say it was the second warmest on record in Atlanta. And it wasn't by a little bit. We typically see our high temperature or our average temperature in March right around 53. We were 10 degrees above that for 2026. And we are going to keep that going into the evening tonight and into the next several days. Temperatures falling from the 80s down into the 70s through the evening hours, all the way down into the low 60s and upper 50s for tomorrow morning, before we are right back to it tomorrow afternoon with low 80s and some scattered showers and storms across metro Atlanta and North Georgia. Looking for 84 tomorrow, 83 in Covington, 83 in Eatonton, 86 over in Rome, 84 in Dalton, 82 in Griffin, and 83 down in Thomaston. Take a look at this. It does not stop there. We are back in the 80s for Friday and for Saturday. A mix of clouds and maybe some showers and storms both days before we get to Easter Sunday. High temperature is 76, but a really decent chance of rain, we'll say. 80% chance with a cold front coming through. Now, that cold front, unfortunately, the timing continues to be a little earlier, a little earlier, a little earlier. So I would say, broadly speaking, rain beginning around midday. If the Easter Bunny's visiting, want to make sure you pass along the memo that you need to get that egg hunt done ASAP in the morning, because the later the morning progresses, the higher the rain chance gets, particularly in northwest Georgia, and might even mix in a couple of storms with that. Speaking of which, we are now in April. I made it this entire time without making a joke. I hope everybody's proud in terms of...
What about a prank?
A prank, right. And like I said on Good Day, it was going to snow this morning. And I think I got 2 or 3 people in the studio for like a split second. And they were like, oh, it's April Fool's. But, you know, through the month of April, we typically see our highs warm from 70 to 77. Well, we're 82 right now, right? So we're above that April 30th high temperature. Broadly speaking, April is going to be an above average month. But here's what matters on that graphic right there. We average about 3.8 inches of rain every April. So we need to see at least that to keep our drought situation status quo.
All right.
If we see less than that, our drought situation will continue to worsen. We need a good 6 to 8 inches of rain this month if we want to see any improvement in that. We're also going to gain about an hour's worth of daylight. So you add it all up here, you get your Fox 5 Storm Team 7-day forecast. 80s for the next several days, 60s and 70s next week. So cooler, more seasonable, but still, you know, that 72 on Tuesday would be above the norm.
So you said we're going to gain an hour's worth of daylight. Is that cumulative since we set the clocks forward?
No, so the clocks moving forward does not have any impact on the amount of daylight. It just shifted everything ahead an hour. It's the longer days. It's the sunrises slowly becoming earlier and the sunsets slowly becoming later. And we'll continue to do that all the way to the summer solstice, and then past the summer solstice, the days get shorter.
I want to just focus on the weekend for 1 second.
Yeah.
And this rain event happening on Sunday.
Yep.
And the chances of rain. So people like to squeak out at least one day of the weekend where they can run around, do errands. Looks like that's going to be on Saturday.
Saturday.
What kind of day are we looking at on Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday is going to be somewhat resemblant of today. Low 80s, mid 80s, but with just a couple more scattered showers and storms than today. So that rain chance up to about 40%. It almost looks like a summer kind of day, even though it's a different, technically speaking, kind of pattern at play. But look, not everybody's going to see rain on Saturday. I think 99.99999% of us are going to see rain on Sunday.
One of those rainy days.
Yes.
Which, as you said, we need.
We do need. We need a lot of.
Back to, I don't know, you guys don't have satellite imagery.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Back to Artemis for a second, and looking at the radar down there. Look at you. You are prepared, my friend.
I also did the last hour.
I was going to ask that.
I didn't. It was just the last thing that was open.
Okay. You could just go with I knew.
Okay, I was very prepared. I read Tom's mind.
So, I mean, there's some clouds down there. I mean,
there are.
The question is, does it fire up into thunderstorms?
Well, and so here, let me show you this. This is the radar, which is also equally as important, right? You're only getting the light green returns in Florida right now. You're not necessarily getting thunderstorms. I think if you were going to see those, we would have already seen them. But the fact that you've got this cloud deck, you know, inland right here, and it's moving that way, that's good, because look out here.
Yeah, nothing out there.
There's only a couple of fair weather cumulus clouds. And so for reference, as you're watching the satellite tonight, what you see out over the ocean right now, those clouds, you can launch in that.
Okay.
That's no problem. What you've got like down here, you can't launch in this.
Well, hopefully it'll be out of there in the next 3 hours.
Right.
Really, because Ariel, the producer, the wonderful 2 p.m. host of the 2 p.m. streaming hour, told me to move on. Real quick, the door, Ariel, I believe is now closed. They're all sealed up.
There you go.
Ready to go. So just making some final adjustments before tonight's hopeful launch coming up at 6:30. Alex, as always, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Yep.
Fentanyl now, guys, one of the leading causes of overdose deaths in the United States. But a new vaccine in human trials could provide a new line of defense. 8 volunteers are testing the shot, which scientists say can block 98% of the drug's effects from reaching the brain. The treatment is designated to prevent both addiction and fatal overdoses by stopping the lethal high before it starts. If successful, the vaccine could be available within the next few years, protecting first responders and families nationwide. Got a lot still to come here on Fox Local. So happy you're streaming with us this afternoon on a busy midweek of news today. We're coming right back. Welcome back to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haynes, live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom with you, covering a lot of ground today. All eyes, of course, on Florida as the Artemis II rocket gets set to launch. That's Rebecca Castor on screen with me. Rebecca, a historic day at Kennedy Space Center down there where you are. We've been talking about it all day. We see that launch time behind you, T-minus 2 hours, 49 minutes. It's all really hinging at this point on the weather. We took a live picture of the launch pad not too long ago. We saw that they closed the door. What are things looking like where you are?
Yeah. Well, Tom, I'll tell you, it's a little bit breezy, and we have had some light sprinkles, nothing too crazy, not some heavy rain showers. But fortunately, NASA has a 2-hour window tonight to put this rocket in the sky, and it is going to come down to weather. As of yesterday, it was 80% chance favorable, 20% chance of a no-go. So that's still what we're looking at right now. Things that are going to prevent this rocket from going up is any chance of lightning in the area, heavy rain, but wind, fortunately, shouldn't be the thing that keeps this rocket from going up. If it's just a little bit breezy, we do expect NASA to go ahead and launch this rocket because it is a really resilient vehicle, and wind's not going to be the thing that keeps it from launching.
Let's talk about, Rebecca, for a second, the significance of this mission and exactly what NASA is trying to achieve by sending these astronauts up to do an orbit of the moon and then come back.
Yeah, so it's the second test flight for the Artemis program, but it is the first time that astronauts are going to be on board. So as you mentioned, they're not going to land on the moon this time. They're just going to kind of slingshot around it. And the primary purpose is for the astronauts to test the Orion spacecraft itself, as well as their flight suits and a lot of other equipment that is on board. With the spacecraft specifically, they want to make sure that its navigation is working properly, its communication systems, as well as the life support systems that will keep the astronauts alive inside the vehicle as it travels into deep space. So those are all the critical tests that they will be taking as part of this mission. And it's going to pave the way, possibly, to put humans back on the moon in 2028. And it's all part of NASA's bigger plan to establish a long-term base camp on the moon that could one day even catapult humans to Mars.
Now, we're getting some extraordinary pictures. As you're talking, we're looking live inside the rocket vehicle. We see the astronauts sitting there in position, waiting to lift off. They're going to be there for a few hours, which must drive them crazy, actually. They're sitting stationary. They're all buckled in. They can't move. But we're going to get some pretty extraordinary images from this mission of the astronauts actually, circling the moon, if you will. When can we expect to see images like that coming back?
Yeah, so this is really the first time that astronauts are carrying cell phones with camera, iPhones, onto the spacecraft with them. And they're going to be able to take their own personal photos that astronauts haven't been able to see before. NASA is hopeful that we're going to be able to get those pictures out, pretty quickly in real time. It's all going to come down to the communication systems. There will be times when the astronauts do not have communication with the ground team on Earth. So that will be interesting to see how real time those pictures are able to come out. These astronauts are also going to see a side of the moon that humans haven't seen before with their own eyes. They're going to go to the dark side of the moon, the furthest away that humans have ever traveled. So we've had, satellites go to that side of the moon before, but it will be interesting to hear their observations, seeing it with the human eye instead of just having it with a satellite.
What about the astronauts themselves, Rebecca? We've heard a lot about these four. Any more information about who's actually on board this historic flight?
Yeah, well, this is a team that is really breaking glass ceilings. They're going to set a lot of records with this flight. The pilot, Victor Glover, he is going to be the first black astronaut to make it to the moon. Christina Cook will become the first woman to make it to the moon. And Canadian Jeremy Hansen is going to be the first non-American to make it to the moon. So a lot of really cool firsts there. But talking with the astronauts, they're not really focused on those personal milestones. Of course, they're excited to pave the way for the next generation, but they are just truly laser focused on the seriousness of this mission and really what's to come with NASA's bigger goals for the moon down the line.
All right, such good information. As you said, history being made in every facet of this lunar trip. Rebecca Castor, they're lucky you get to watch this thing lift off, hopefully in the next few hours. Rebecca, thanks. Continuing on here in the 3 p.m. hour, NASCAR is going electric today. This is pretty cool. At Echo Park Speedway, as driver Sebastian Buemi takes the wheel of a new 1,300 horsepower prototype. Of course, our Eli Jordan has a front row seat and is out there for us this afternoon.
That's right. I am at Echo Park Speedway here in Henry County, and they're showing off an electric vehicle. Check this out. ABB, Ford, Chevy, and Toyota have gone in collaboration to develop this electric NASCAR. It has about 1,360 horsepower. Top speed's gotten up to 165 miles an hour, and they brought it out here and gave it for a little spin, showing it off. They're going around tour around a lot of American raceways here, and just showing off what it can do. You know, there's a lot of different tracks, and this thing might not be appropriate for every track, but it's gotten up to 165 over in Phoenix. It can last about an hour on certain tracks, but not on this track. This track's a pretty big one. But so there's still a lot of development going on. But I spoke to the driver and the vice president of ABB earlier.
Yeah, it's the first time I got to drive that car, obviously an electric NASCAR. It's a big car, it's quite heavy compared to what I'm used to, but it's got a lot of torque, a lot of power. So I did a few acceleration without the traction control, and you do realize how powerful it is. Of course, you know, in the corners you carry the weight of the battery, but the power you feel is pretty impressive. You know, from 0 to 60, it's amazing the acceleration you get to feel, and you really understand that those EVs are coming and getting better and better.
It's the ABB NASCAR EV prototype. It's built in collaboration with Ford, Chevy, and Toyota. Since we launched this car, Ford has launched an EV prototype and Chevy has launched an EV prototype, and we did an exhibition with all three cars in Chicago over the summer.
Is this thing race ready?
It's a prototype, so we are testing. We're testing today. So we haven't had it at top speed yet. That's the first question I get. This is an amazing vehicle, 1,360 horsepower, so it's fast. But we're still doing testing on different types of tracks. Where would this car run well? Where would it not perform well? And really kind of learn the technology so that one day maybe it could be race ready.
Now don't worry, you're still going to be hearing the roar of the combustion engines going off. There's still a lot of development to go with these EV batteries, and make them have better endurance to be able to make it around these tracks and sustain the race. There's no filling up over in the pits, but so they got still a little bit of development to go, but this is some awareness showing off how advanced we've gotten with electric vehicles. Reporting over at Echo Park Speedway, back to you guys.
Eli, so cool that you get a front row seat to watch that, as you said, very, very powerful electric vehicle. Boy, talk about it being the future. Governor Kemp, Mayor Dickens on Auburn Avenue today for a big celebration, and our Chris Rosenthal is there when we come back. Welcome back. You are watching the 3 p.m. streaming hour right here on Fox Local. Appreciate you streaming with us if you're on your mobile device on our Fox Local app today. We're glad you're here at home watching on one of your live channels or on one of our social media sites, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, at Fox 5 Atlanta. Or if you're on the radio, 107.9 HD2 FM. We're glad you're listening to us today. Governor Brian Kemp, Mayor Dickens on Auburn Avenue today celebrating the new Georgia Works facility for the homeless. Chris Rosenthal live at that event. Chris, and I understand you got to talk to the mayor today. What did he tell you?
Yeah, I did get to chat with the mayor. Again, this event just wrapped up. They had a ribbon cutting for this new facility. Let's talk a little bit more about that first. In 2013, Georgia Works was founded, and since then they've helped about 1,200 homeless men get back on their feet, and they house them. They give them staffing solutions. The one rule is they must remain sober, no drugs, no alcohol. And but their program, it's growing, and they've needed to expand, and so they've acquired this new building here on Auburn Avenue, the Oddfellows building here, and it's a good addition to the neighborhood for one thing, but also a good, nice facility. I had to tour it a little bit earlier today and look through some of the apartments that these men stay in. It's already occupied, but today was a ribbon cutting to really commemorate the opening of it. They'll be able to house about 160 men here while they, work on turning their lives around. Some of these men had been incarcerated. Some of them had been homeless. But this does give them a chance to learn skills, get opportunities, get staffing solutions. And but the mayor was here, Mayor Andre Dickens. The governor was here. Councilwoman Lillian Bakhtiari was here today as part of that ribbon cutting to commemorate the opening of this. I think it shows just how important this is to the community, how important this is to the city, how important this is really to the state. But I did talk briefly with Mayor Dickens. Let's hear what he had to say. If I can ask you just about this ribbon cutting here today, why is this so important? What does this mean to the city here?
Yeah, this is another example of us all coming together to help those that are in need. This is to help those that are experiencing homelessness in our city. The Georgia Works program has been phenomenal at helping people get off the streets and helping them get to work. And so this is our investment with the state, the Invest Atlanta, the city of Atlanta, all working together to help men that want to change their lives, to be able to change their lives and get a good job and have a place to stay. This is 160 units, and they'll be going out into the community doing work.
What will this look like for the citizens in this area and for the street here?
Yeah, this is going to look good because the individuals that could be living on the street are not going to be living inside, and they won't have to go out and ask for change or ask for food because they're going to be working and they're going to have a place to stay. And so it's 160, and they've already started occupying them. So they're great looking units. They have their own refrigerator, own microwave, own bathroom and shower. And so this is just phenomenal, and I'm glad to be a part of it right now in Atlanta.
Yeah, again, this program, it's not just what you might think of as a homeless shelter. I mean, it really does help turn these men around. I mean, just some statistics about Georgia Works here. 100% have had jobs by graduation. 90% have had renewed communications with at least one family member. 99% of them have not been arrested since graduation, which is pretty successful there. And as we get ready for FIFA World Cup, this is a chance, a place for these homeless men to be, and also potentially, prosper from some of the opportunities that are coming this way. But again, this building commemorated today, ribbon cutting today, will be housing 160 men here, turning their lives around. Back to you, Tom.
So cool, Chris. Tell us exactly, so we can have a sort of a geographical grasp over where you are in the city. Oddfellows building there. So where in downtown is this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Oddfellows building, first of all, this is a historic building from the early 1900s, so it's really cool that it's getting revitalized here. But yeah, it's on Auburn Avenue, just west of the interstate. Yeah, just very near Georgia State. But yeah, just west of the interstate here. If you go right under the bridge, that's where this is, here on Auburn Avenue.
All right, a great shot for the homeless to get the resources and the housing that they need, celebrated today by none other than the mayor and Governor Brian Kemp out there. Chris Rosenthal at the event for us. Chris, thanks so much. Well, the Braves are headed on the road after their season opener here in Atlanta, headed out to Arizona. And our Victor Prieto is live with us this afternoon to give us a bit of a preview, Victor, of the matchup against the Cardinals and where these two teams stand with one another.
Yeah, Tom, we're here at Truist Park. Actually, the game just finished. It was a rubber match. It was an early game here early today. Now the team is headed out west, so they're getting on the bus now in just a couple minutes, and they're going to head out on a happy flight because it was a good win today. Chris Sale looked excellent. 6 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 earned run, and the Braves came away with a nice, solid victory, and it's exactly what you want in a good start.
And what about this team, Victor, have you noticed thus far? I mean, it's obviously in the infancy of the season, but the gates have opened. How are the Braves looking so far?
Yeah, look, I think Walt Weiss, the manager, said it today after the game. It's as good as a start as you really could have expected, considering all the injuries that hit this team in spring training. They're 4-2 to start the season. If we rewind it a little bit to last year, to where this team started, they were 0-7. They had that, remember, road trip against the Dodgers and the Angels, and they started 0-7. Just like that, you're behind the 8 ball, everything starts. This year, you started well, 4-2. Now you're headed out west. They're going to take on the Diamondbacks and the Angels. So you want to get ahead of it. Ever talking with the players in the locker room, in the clubhouse, everyone's saying 1 series at a time. But hey, they got it started with 2 series wins in this homestand here at Truist Park. And really, it's about the energy and the good positive energy of the clubhouse in terms of that's what players are excited about. They said there's a difference than last year, which definitely helps.
Yeah, and so now they're headed to Arizona for the rest of this series. I got to tell you something. I was so impressed opening day and the following games, what kind of crowd they drew out there at Truist Park. I mean, for home opener, that was pretty spectacular.
Oh, yeah, and also considering it was their first home opener on opening day in quite some time, it was really cool to see the numbers. I won't lie to you, Tom, so it was a 12:15 first pitch today on a rubber match. There were so many people here. I don't have the exact numbers, but it made me almost think, like, don't people work? Like, how did you get here? It was a lot of people. It was packed. It's a beautiful day. I mean, the sun is shining. You really couldn't have asked for more, like, perfect baseball weather. And in terms of the baseball itself, it really was an entertaining game. I said Chris Sale earlier. He ended up coming to this game sick. Walt Weiss told us after the game that they didn't even know if he was going to be able to pitch today, let alone comes out. Maybe he'd pitch, 2 or 3 innings. He comes out, throws 6 innings, aside from a 1 mistake pitch where they hit a home run. That was his 1 hit of the day. He threw basically a perfect game through 6 innings. It was a remarkable outing from Chris Sale. It just shows with the Hall of Famer he has in him, what he adds to the clubhouse of the Braves and what he has on the field. And then Drake Baldwin, the catcher for the Braves, a terrific outing too. He's been hot all season. He's contributed every single game this season in one way or another to the Braves scoring a run. And he had 4 RBIs today, had a home run robbed, so he had a really special day too. It's a good start for this Braves team. You mentioned real quick, Victor, before I let you go, Walt Weiss. Obviously, this is his inaugural season as skipper of that team, taking over for Brian Snitker. So how, I mean, he's no stranger to the Braves, obviously, but how's the team feeling and how's he sort of fitting in this new role? It's great. Like you said, he was with the team as the bench coach essentially the last couple of years under Brian Snicker, so the team is familiar with him. And he had said the team felt different. He liked the energy out of the guys in spring training when we were down there in Florida. He said he liked the way the team was bonding, but you have to be careful bringing over the spring training feelings to the real season because it's two completely different kind of forms of baseball. But so far, so good. I mean, a great start to the season in terms of 4-2. We talked about all the injuries that they've had in spring training in terms of the pitching rotation and the starting rotation, but they got out of it where they didn't have to waste a lot of arms, and now you get ready for this stretch out west where it's 7 games in 7 days, so that's tough on your pitching rotation and your pitching staff, and we'll see how they do out west. It's certainly, I mean, they're hitting the bus and they got a game tomorrow, so Chris Sale joked with us at the end of his press conference, it's going to be a long flight, but a happy flight because of the win.
All right, Victor Prieto live at Truist Park for us this afternoon after the Braves opener, and now they're on their way out west to complete this series. Victor, thanks so much. Want to shift gears here, talk about the federal trial for accused killer Luigi Mangione. He is facing trial for the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Jury selection now set for October the 5th, with opening statements expected later that month. Mangione faces 2 federal charges that carry a potential life sentence, though the death penalty has been taken off the table. With the federal delay, attorneys are also expected to push back his state murder trial, previously set for June. Before we leave, you want to take you back to Florida for one last look at the Artemis II mission. There are controllers there standing right outside the launch vehicle. This is a pretty cool sight because they've already closed the door here. And, by all indications, they are ready for liftoff. This window opens up at about 6:20 this evening, weather permitting. And as meteorologist Alex Forbes told us here just a second ago, there's an 80% likelihood that this mission, this historic mission, is actually going to happen. And we're going to slingshot these astronauts right around the moon. Imagine the images that we're going to get back from Artemis. Very cool stuff. Of course, we'll be following it right here. Want to thank you for joining us for the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haynes here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. Don't go anywhere. The news continues right here, right now.
Fox 5 News at 4 starts right now.
A major development in a massive Ponzi scheme impacting hundreds of Georgians to pay out some of